Elf I am the protagonist template. Invincible Chapter 301 to 320. Chapter 301. The Ultimate Volt Thunderbolt. I smash myself. This is. Baizi frowned slightly, and it was true that he couldn't understand the operation of the guardian deity of Melamel Island. But he was not entirely without guesswork. Because in the Sun and Moon chapter of anime TV, the patron saints of Alola who made such actions usually give away the protagonist group in addition to congratulations. But now he and Kapu Mingming have met for the first time. Maybe it's the first time we meet in different time and space. Even if Kapu Mingming is a fun god, he won't congratulate him on the first meeting, or give him a hang, right? After all, he's not the protagonist. Wrong. According to the worldview of the special chapter, he who has the title of the judge also belongs to the protagonist group, and he is also the owner of the illustrated book of one of the most powerful protagonist groups. Thinking about it this way, if Kapu Mingming really wants to give himself a hang, that is also quite in line with the basic law of protagonist. So Baizi thought to himself in his heart, not without a joke. And right now, Kapu Mingming's dance accompanied by the crisp sound of Ching-O-Tu also stopped just in time. I saw it stretched out the shell that wrapped its body with both hands, lifted it up, and handed over the sharp black right arm, a diamond-shaped, golden-yellow spar with black lightning patterns. And a white-backed stone bracelet that looks like gold but not jade, displayed in front of Baizi. This is, for me. Baizi pointed to himself slightly hesitantly. Click tilde. Kapu Mingming nodded immediately, and once again used the power of electromagnetism to push the Z crystal and Z skill bracelet of the electric property in the direction of Baizi. This Nima. Shouldn't it really be the protagonist treatment? Baizi's expression was a little strange. But it's a bastard to take advantage of it. What's more, in the face of the kindness of a moody logician, he didn't want to refuse for no reason and cause unnecessary trouble. After all, the powerful elves in the realm of the gods are basically not around. With only one Zeraora in the Heavenly King domain, he has no confidence to fight against a second-level peak god. Again. People are kind enough to come over and hang up, why would he refuse to be idle? Then I'll be disrespectful. Thank you, Kapu Mingming. Baizi reached out and took advantage of the situation to put the Z bracelet on his right wrist, and embedded the Z pure crystal of the electric system into the groove on the front of the bracelet. Kacha, a crisp sound, it fits perfectly. Not bad. And feeling the abundant electric property factor in the Z bracelet after being inlaid with the electric Z pure crystal, Baizi couldn't help but nodded with satisfaction. With Z pure crystal and Z bracelet, then just learn to dance. Ah no, it should be that only by learning how to channel this power, he can use this Z movement. He remembered the general purpose Z movement of the electric attribute, it should be Ultimate Volt Thunderbolt. Pity. Although there are quite a few Z moves with the electric attribute, Zeraora lacks the exclusive electric Z moves. Except for Ultimate Volt Thunderbolt, it cannot use any other electric Z moves. Was thinking. Click tilde. Kapu Mingming on the side saw that after Baizi put on the Z bracelet and the electric Z pure crystal, he directly compared the action of Taichi hugging the watermelon in midair, and reminded him directly. Seeing this, Baizi immediately twitched the corner of his mouth. This Nima, is he going to teach me the ultimate awkward dance technique right away? Although no one is around. But I always feel a little embarrassed. However, looking at Kapu Mingming staring at him with a burning look, he always maintained the gesture of Taichi hugs the watermelon. Baizi had to sigh, raised his hand and surrendered. Okay, I'll learn it now. Cough tilde. Licking his lips, Baizi imitated Kapu Mingming in a slightly awkward manner, compared to a Taichi hugging a watermelon posture. Not to mention, the physical coordination ability brought by master-level kicking skills, let Baizi learn these movements with ease. Electric Z moves, a group of 13 dismantling moves were learned by him in one go. Then, under the signal of Kapu Mingming, Baizi, above the 1,000-meter altitude, cooperated with Ka-Pu Mingming, and officially started his first Z movement use. So, shall we begin? Click tilde. Okay, let's go, Ka-Pu Mingming. Baizi, who seemed to be aroused by his hidden soul in the middle school, felt a little ashamed when he learned an action, but at this time, he also took the initiative to add a slogan one by one. This is our whole body. Wholehearted. With all our strength. Tilde as Baizi started to cross his arms in front of him, a golden yellow lightning pattern phantom appeared in front of Baizi. And then, accompanied by the smooth movements of Baizi and Ka-Pu Mingming that are completely one. The energy streamers shining with golden rays of light spread out from the pure crystal of the Z bracelet in Baizi's hand, and instantly linked to Ka-Pu Mingming's body. And quickly integrated into it, and in the void in front of Ka-Pu Mingming, a golden quaint imprint representing brilliant was printed. Next second. Ultimate Volt. 433. Crazy Thunder Flash. Ka tilde. Along with Baizi's passionate roar, Ka-Pu Mingming also roared. Then, with Baizi's huge backswing, the front part of Ka-Pu Mingming's arm, which also hit the sharp black right arm. A golden electric sphere turned into a flying thunder column. With a turbulent momentum, it rushed straight to the 9 heavens, completely shattering the layers of clouds in the path. For a while, Yu clarifies Wan Lai. But he didn't wait for Baizi to sigh. The pillar of thunder that flew for 9 days suddenly turned around and smashed down in the direction of Baizi at an unimaginable angle. Nani? Could this Nima be? I smashed myself. Baizi, who was instantly submerged by the galloping pillar of thunder, only had time to give birth to this idea. P.S. In the next chapter, the eldest wife Rusamine is going to appear, square root tilde. Chapter 302. The Unknown Land, the girl chased by the evil Eater King. For full order. When Lei Guang approached, Baizi almost subconsciously burst out with all his power. But this seemingly vast thunder is just a look. Baizi didn't even have time to use the brilliant king's sword sealed in his left hand, just the thought force poured out, and the thunder beam that drowned him was like a bubble phantom, and it collapsed at the touch of a touch. What the hell is this? The thunder dissipated, and Baizi, who was standing on a sandy beach, looked stunned and dazed. Not only Ka-Pu Mingming's sudden attack, but also the unbearable intensity of that ultimate volt lightning flash, and even more doubts and incomprehension about where he is now. It was clear that Ka-Pu Mingming was sending him off, teaching him, and cooperating with him to use the Z movement. And also, Tang Tang's peak 2nd level God's Z move, even his skin has not been scratched, and it also has the ability to transfer space. What sent him to speak? Where is this coming from? Thinking of this, Baizi immediately raised his eyes and looked around. The black clouds overwhelm the city. This is not an adjective, but the sky above this piece of sand, although the scorching sun hangs high, the pitch-black stratus clouds are like a curtain the same shade blocked the sun, making the whole world appear very dim. And not just dark. The whole world gives a sense of boundless silence. The sea behind him was ups and downs like stagnant water, and Baizi couldn't sense the slightest breath of life. Going forward, the beach is completely barren except for a few dilapidated thatched cottages, except for a few vaguely man-made piles of stones. The whole land, as if it had been plowed over by something, was flat and monotonous. In addition to sand and stone, there is only sand and stone. Simply, it is like the doomsday scene after all things wither. What the hell happened here? Also, I won't be transmigrating again, will I? It still seems to be an apocalyptic world. Baizi frowned, and while he was thinking about it, suddenly, when he noticed that the pokeball at his waist was trembling, his expression suddenly eased. Clap, sound. In the dazzling white light set off by the dim sky, a golden upright big cat shone with electric lights appeared beside Baizi. Oh tilde. As soon as Zeraora came out of the pokeball, he was quite alert. Lightning flashes and thunder echoed in his claws, and he looked like he would attack at any time. Okay Zeraora, don't be so vigilant, accompany me to the thatched hut in front to check it out. The words should just fall. Boom! A very distant roar, accompanied by tremors, came from the soles of the feet. Vizi and Zeraora glanced at each other, and immediately put aside the dilapidated thatched hut not far away. They made a wrong footstep. Under the impetus of psychic power and electromagnetism respectively, they hurried away in the direction of the tremor and roaring sound. Quite far from the coastline, in an abandoned city in the southeastern part of the island. A cluttered street full of ruins. A group of 5 people, led by a long-haired girl with golden waterfalls wrapped like a curtain, constantly relied on the terrain, and with the help of their respective elves, ran wildly towards the periphery of the city. Behind them, accompanied by a roaring stomping sound, a huge behemoth with a height of nearly 6 meters was chasing after everyone. Its main body is black and spherical, supported by a pair of sturdy short legs, with yellow gear-like markings on the knees, each with a corresponding claw below. And the most striking thing is the yellow abyss mouth in the middle of this guy's body. It occupies almost 2/3 of the body. The wrongly divided yellow and black teeth have a thick and long split tongue with huge black jaws protruding from both sides of the lower jaw, which can be used as a second arm in addition to the claws on both sides of the top of the head. Besides, it also has small bat-like wings that are completely out of tune with the body, and another small conical head above the head of the main body inlaid with yellow gemstones. This monster with a strange and terrifying shape is a kind of extreme beast that is quite common in the ultimate space. It belongs to the double line of Evil and Dragon, and is code-named UB-05, King of Big Stomach, the King of Evil Eaters. Captain, we must find a way. One of the young men with black curly hair glanced at the monsters that were getting closer and closer, constantly swallowing everything along the way, and shouted in a deep voice. Yeah, if it goes on like this, I'm afraid it won't be long before we will all be buried in this guy's belly. The yellow inch-headed man on the side also reminded anxiously. Hearing the words, the other people also urged them to look anxiously at the blonde girl in front of the waterfall. The soldiers are divided into 2 ways. You bring the supplies back first. The girl looked calm, glanced at the evil eater who was getting closer and closer behind her, and threw the backpack directly to a team member next to her. Dressed bear. Obviously not a pair, the white and blue flat shoes wrapped around the slender feet exerted force for a moment, and with the help of the momentum, they directly moved sideways and floated into a fork on the right side, which was obliquely blocked by the beam. The waist that Ying Ying could hold suddenly folded, almost rubbing the beam above and drilling over it. And at the same time, hey Tilda! A sharp chirping sounded, and the clothed bear who originally followed the girl's side also moved with the sound, striding forward, and swaying the energy rock condensed in the raised hands in the direction of the King of Evil Eaters. Whoosh whoosh, the sound of breaking wind sounded one after another. The hissing sound of the rock formation piercing the air represents that the strength of this bear is absolutely good, right? But face the blow. The King of Evil Eater just opened his mouth and sucked, and then swallowed all the dozens of energy rocks that came in a row. Not to mention the reaction, the King of Evil Eater didn't even burp. But this attack with energy, which has been very rare so far, made it appetite, and it was immediately attracted by the wearing bear. Clumsy switching directions. 2 long split tongues clamped the beam blocking the road, and when they broke it, they were divided into 2 sections and stuffed into the huge mouth of the abyss in the abdomen. Then, with a roaring stomping sound, following the direction of the girl and the wearing bear, Bang Long chased and killed. Chapter 303. Rusumanai, the hero saves the beauty. What should I do? The black curly hair carried the backpack thrown by the girl just now, and looked at the Evil Eater King who was drifting away, with a hesitant expression. What else can we do? With our strength, rushing up will only slow down the captain's speed. A tan-skinned man looked ugly and said solemnly, Let's go back to the base first, and then go to the edge of the city to meet up. Captain. For a while, everyone was silent. In vain, as senior members of the Ultimate Patrol team, in the end, not only did they fail to protect their hometown. Now, I have to rely on a girl who is less than 20 years old to come forward. This kind of humiliation is even more uncomfortable than killing them. But no. As a special unit against the ultimate alien beasts in the Alola region, it is not a matter of being able to expel the king of evil eaters who destroyed the city. If the people and elves of the hometown cannot be preserved, even if they were dead, they would have no face to see the seniors of the ultimate ranger who passed away first. Don't be discouraged one by one, cheer up. Send the supplies to the base as soon as possible, and then set off to meet the captain. In response to the harmony, a few people quickly packed their bags and ran towards the outskirts of the city. The man with the tan 433 complexion clapped his hands and cheered. As long as we stay for a while, wait for the voyage to return and transport the last batch of islanders and elves, we can get away from here and welcome a new life. Okay, let's go. Yes, got it. The scene fell silent, except for those who passed the streets and alleys circling from the ground, rolling up scattered debris and dust. Ba-da! The next moment, the crisp footsteps rose, trampling the tornado of that inch. The slender boy with white hair and blue eyes, a pair of round sunglasses on the bridge of his strong nose, put one hand in his pocket, pulled down the sunglasses on the bridge of his nose slightly, bowed, and looked at the two rubbing shoe prints in front of him. Drift turns sharply. It's a beautiful move. The movement analysis ability brought by master level kicks allowed Baizi to dismantle the movements and postures of the masters of the footprints in his mind, and he couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Subsequently, he looked around again, and the camera-like memory and computing power also allowed him to quickly deduce what happened before here. Then, the brainstorming started. There are Haruga's footprints in it. Obviously, I am still in the world of elves. And according to the general judgment of the traces, it should be a team of trainers, chased by a huge unknown elf with 2 legs and tails, and then divided into 2 groups here. He was not very interested in the other pair. He is very interested in this trainer who has attracted the unknown elves by himself and has considerable skills. Intuition also tells me that this direction has the answer I need, and some kind of fate. Interesting. Naturally, Baizi would not ignore this inexplicable whim, because according to Nazi, it was a precursor to the ability to predict the future and one of the prerequisite abilities in the awakening superpower. Involving predicting the future, of course, cannot be ignored. Let's go. Swipe greeted one by one, and in the next second, Baizi's figure appeared on a tall building 1,000 meters away. Immediately afterwards, Zeraora, who was wrapped in lightning, was also driven by electromagnetism and followed closely behind. The other side. Lightly and proficiently traversing the ruined city lanes, Lusa Manai, who was gradually trying to throw the king of evil eaters a little distance away, didn't have time to breathe a sigh of relief. Next second, a forward somersault went through the 2 steel bars, and used the ray to retrieve the bear-wearing Rusamine. After landing, her complexion suddenly changed. ACBH because in this dead end, above the manhole cover of the sewer entrance leading to the outside of the city, there is a concrete block more than 3 meters high. And then, the bang followed by an explosion, and the wall composed of steel bars behind him was instantly crushed. The huge and bloated body of the evil eater king suddenly blocked his way. 2 separate tongues, like claws, fluttered. One of them suddenly lifted. Whipped down like a heavy hammer. Slammed wildly. The strong wind blew her face, and the pretty face of Lusamine turned pale. Am I going to die at the hands of the evil eater too? In desperation, her waist suddenly tightened, as if she was being dragged into a warm embrace. Bang one by one. The roar was blown from the back of the head with energy. Lusamine opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was a fairly well-defined jawline. Then there are thin, slightly curved lips. And the azure blue eyes that vaguely gather and disperse like a cloud in the gap under the sunglasses. It's so beautiful. There was a hint of fascination in Lusamanai's eyes. And outside, holding the blonde beauty in his arms and using his psychic power to avoid the tongue-splitting blow of the evil eater king, Baizi, who retreated in the air, also turned his attention to the ultimate alien beast that roared under him one by one. Elf. Evil Food King. Attribute. Evil Dragon. Characteristic. Alien Beast Upgrade. When hitting the opponent, the highest ability of oneself will be improved. Level 3 God Elementary, Level 90, 0/100. Potential, Champion. HP, 223. Attack, 101. Defense, 53. Special Attack, 97. Special Defense, 53. Speed, 43. Skills. Hiccup, Wide Area Defense, Destruction of Deathlight, Heavy Crash, Charge, Dragon Wave, Bite, Crazy Swing, Crazy Rolling, Crushing, Stomach Juice, Big Character Pyroblast, Heavy Crash. Genetic Skills. Swallow, Dragon Claws. Props. Harmony Orb can adjust and integrate heterogeneous energy and even secondary law power. You need to use the spiritual power hook to use. Wearing it can also produce some weak effects. Status. 4. Unconscious, Energy Level Overloaded. Introduction. After swallowing countless lives and substances, with the help of the Harmony Orb, he forcibly raised his level to the realm of God, but he also lost consciousness because of this, and acted by instinct. Chapter 304. The Same Body, the Luca Manai who gave welfare tilde, please order all. So strong. After confirming the strength of this evil eater, Baizi didn't hesitate at all, and the layers of thought power burst into his body and flew towards the distance. Zeraora, the wind is howling. With his current combat power and a vicious food that has entered the realm of the three gods, the king fights. Although he is confident enough and is used to defeating the weak by the weak, he is not confident enough to use only one Zeraora in the realm of the Heavenly King to defeat the ultimate alien beast that has set foot in the realm of the gods. He is used to defeating the strong by the weak, but he is not to call him a mayfly, shake a tree. It's not running yet. Do you still keep it for the king of evil eaters to improve his meals? Slip away tilde stab. Yzerala also did not hesitate, and with a flash of lightning, he disappeared directly in place. The king of evil eaters, who roared in rage after losing his meal. By the sea, in front of the thatched hut not far from where it landed before. Baizi hugged the blonde girl with amazing hair, and slowly descended from the sky. Sighed. The thorns flashed away one by one, and the handsome golden upright cat also appeared. Sure enough, it's Alora from a parallel world. Putting down the blonde girl in his arms, seeing that the other party was still a little stunned, Baizi directly grabbed the other party's softweeds and walked into the courtyard of the dilapidated thatched cottage in front of him. He had read the Sun and Moon chapter, and with the comparison of his absolute memory ability, he quickly recognized the dilapidated grass and treehouse in front of him. It was the treasure located on Mellowmile Island in the Sun and Moon chapter of the TV anime Dream School. In the normal course of time, it is obviously impossible for Pokemon School to be so broken. Therefore, this is very likely to be the 100th episode of the TV anime Sun and Moon chapter, titled, Lightning That Cuts Through the Wind. It's called Zeraora, Alora in the parallel world. Of course, there may also be another parallel world that is similar, or, from that world, another time period. Baizi looked around, thoughts flashing in his eyes. But what is certain is that, whether it is the parallel world in the TV anime or not, it must not be the same time period as the main world. He turned his gaze to the girl beside him. That unique, waterfall-like long golden hair like a curtain of layers, and the jasper pupils with firmness in the softness are still a little dazed at this time. But the pair of long and narrow phoenix eyes embellished on the beautiful face gave people a charming feeling. Although it's still a little green compared to the her in the anime, there is no doubt that this girl is the mother of the heroine Lily in the Pokemon Sun and Moon chapter, and the parallel world equivalent of Rusamine. At this time, she walked around the ruins of the Pokemon School in this world with the naturally dull Rusamine. Returning to the courtyard, Baizi suddenly turned his head, leaned forward slightly, and pulled down some sunglasses. The blue eyes like clouds and mist and the girl's miniature jasper eyes met each other. Even if you pretend to be stupid, you have to have a degree. After so long, could it be that you treat me as a fool? Baizi finished his words. Lusha Manai's dazed eyes suddenly sharpened, and she wiped her free left hand from her waist, while the soft weed, held by Bai Zi, clasped her back. Climb up Bai Zi's shoulders. Then, his slender and round legs twisted from Bai Zi's neck. At the same time, the suspended figure suddenly leaned back. Abdominal force. It is necessary to use the power of the lever to overturn Bai Zi to the ground. And at the same time, with the touch of Lusumanai, several flashes shot out, wearing bears, minas, beautiful flowers, dream demons, Pixie. A total of 5 elves surrounded Zeraora. The strength of each of these 5 elves should not be underestimated. Even if the power of Bai Zi has not been used to investigate, Bai Zi can recognize at a glance just by the momentum. These guys, without exception, are all at the stage of the king. Step out of a powerful role of not shallow level. However, Thorn, even if it was 5-on-1, Zeraora easily turned into a lightning bolt, passed through the encirclement of several elves, and swept in the direction of Lusamine and Bai Zi. 0. For flowers. But halfway through, boom, accompanied by the roar of the air, the shocking omen that suddenly hit the back of her head made Zeraora, who was still walking in the courtyard, jump in her heart. Suddenly squatted down. In the next second, I saw a straight punch that swept across the top of the head, causing bursts of howling wind. There was a flash of fighting intent in Zeraola's eyes, and his half-squat body suddenly bounced up, kicking his left foot in the sky, hitting the bear's chin directly. Close combat. And the next performance of wearing a bear also made no resistance at all, and Bai Zi, who let the beauty on his body twisted by the snake, couldn't help but light up. After all, people are rushing to give benefits to those lying down, why did he refuse? Anyway, it can't hurt him. And this moment. In the face of Zeraora's counterattack. Wearing the bear did not panic at all, the straight punch he swung before suddenly pulled down, making a slash, and met the sole of Zeraora's foot. Split tiles. And the vacant left arm suddenly swung out of his arms and hit Zeraora's waist. Arm hammer. Bang, bang. 2 consecutive collisions sounded. At the last moment, Zeraora, who had blocked the electric claws in front of her waist and abdomen, was attacked by the huge force that was transmitted one after another. Shoe scratches, just stood firm. Hey Tilda. The wearing bear was also hidden by Zeraora on his claws, and the impact force contained in the plasma lightning fist, which was a unique trick of zero distance, made the blows back a dozen steps. This wave of attacks from rabbits and falcons made Bai Zi, who was watching the battle secretly, couldn't help but patted the calf wrapped around his neck, and shouted hello, it's not bad, it's a wonderful duel. Several. Chapter 305, Another Race King. Intimidate. For full order. ###. A hint of embarrassment could not help but rise on Rusamanai's face. Her legs tensed, her waist and abdomen exerted force again, and even the light-colored blue veins burst out on the swan's neck that was bent back as far as she could. But a pity. The man under him is like a pine and cypress. No matter how hard she tried, she wouldn't move. Didn't you have enough to eat? Use some force, it just so happens that my neck is a little sore recently. Even Bai Zi still had time to tease Rusamine, and he didn't seem to be affected at all. He turned his head easily and faced the wearing bear who was leading the other 4 elves to confront Zeraora. In the eyes, the unseen brilliance suddenly flashed out one by one. Elf, wearing a bear. Attribute, normal fighting. Characteristics, furry, heart of fist. Exclusive characteristics, the power of the 4-3-3 fighting type and contact type tricks will be strengthened proportionally. Level, Heavenly King Advanced, level 68, 85/100. Potential, Tripolar God. HP, 120, Attack, 125, Defense, 80, Special Attack, 55, Special Defense, 60, Speed, 60. Exclusive Skill, the Slaying Fist. The Slaying Fist, learned and comprehended from the Karate King, can gather the strength of the whole body in one point, causing the ultimate destructive power. Skills, Binding, Impact, Staring, Round Pupils, Tits for Tits, Dancing and Beating, Tappets, Striking Forces, Slamming, crazy, arm smashing, sharing the pain, clashing with oneself, brute force. Inherited skills, energizing, rounding. Status, poor, hungry. Introduction. A natural racial king, with a powerful physique that surpasses his own racial value. He is a natural martial arts master with double the power and speed, and has an extraordinary talent in close combat. Good guy. The potential reaches the three-pole god, the king of races. Is that you? Kobo is roaring. Except for his own giant gold monster. This is the second racial king elf that Baizi has seen so far. And so talented. And gorgeous panels. He had to make Baizi think of the Alola area in the main world, the bear god who was omnipotent in the sky and into the sea, wearing a bear. Therefore, he has every reason to believe that the wearing bear in front of him is the different world isotype of the Kobo bear in the main world. Alola was thinking. Suddenly, a rumbling sound came from the back of his head, and then Baizi felt the girl's tense calf soften. Then suddenly it slipped off his shoulders. Baizi hurriedly stretched out his hand and took the unconscious girl to his front. Surging mental power flowed out of his body. After some investigation, he was relieved suddenly. It's just hunger and a moment of anger, and the body is weak and fainted. However, I really didn't expect that Lusamanai from another world is still wearing a thin figure. Tisk tisk. Baizi shook his head, his expression aftertaste. Not that he deliberately took advantage. It's just that the scanning of mental power is too detailed, and the subconscious modeling of absolute memory ability. Therefore, Lusamine can be seen directly. So, alas, helpless. JPG the moon is bright and the stars are rare, and the light penetrates the clouds with difficulty. Before the bonfire, a slender young man sat cross-legged, propped his chin in one hand, and rotated evenly in the crock pot with a spoon in the other. The heat was accompanied by the firelight, and the young man's silver-white hair fell into a hazy and mysterious look on his handsome face. Surrounding him were the upright golden cat that confronted him wearing the bear, and his elves. At this time, they were holding bowls and chopsticks one by one, and they were eating deliciously. In particular, Minos, even in the face of his own master, is rarely overly intimate on weekdays, and it seems very cold. Now, he actually wrapped his slender body in a circle and carefully folded it into a reclining chair, so that the teenager could lean on it. His head was resting on the crooked legs of the boy who sat cross-legged. Small mouthfuls, enjoying the food that the boy hand feeds when he prepares the soup. One by one, when Lusamanai woke up again, she struggled to get up from the comfortable big bed she hadn't enjoyed for a long time, and after she got out of the tent, what she saw was the scene in front of her. These unscrupulous. The corners of Lusamine's mouth twitched uncontrollably a few times. Just when I was about to say something. The voice was louder and the long belly rumbling sounded again. Lusamine. Looking at her group of elves, and the collective attention of the boy and the big cat, Lusamanai suddenly caught her breath and almost couldn't help but want to get into the tent. Awake. Come over and eat some. Baizi greeted with a flat expression. At this time, he already knew the general situation of this world from the mouths of Minos and the others. Or, it should be the general situation of Mellowmile Island in the Alola region at the foot. Including the time background, the reason, the origin of the evil eater, the current situation of the survivors on the island, and some information about their owner, Lusamine at this time. Of course, it's not that Lusamine's elves are easy to deceive, or that Baizi's charm is high. Well, his charm is indeed high enough, whether it is for the opposite sex of humans or elves. But really trust them. Especially as the leader wears the bear's trust. Still relying on Baizi to hold a knife in one hand, to stimulate the brilliant king's sword stored in his left hand to lock in the threat, and a heart-to-heart Baizi's power to soothe each other's hearts, this completely overwhelmed the group under the hands of Lusamine in the other world. Proud soldier. 1.7 is not bad. Is the arrogant soldier. Excluding the racial kings who are already very close to the peak of the heavenly kings wearing bears, the remaining four guys, Pikesi, Minos, Mehua and Mengmeng, or all middle-level heavenly kings. Such strength, excluding the Kanto region, is enough to hold the position of the 4 heavenly kings in any regional alliance. And to the fierce reaction of Rusa Manai before, he can roughly guess the reason. Chapter 306. Rusa Manai, really fragrant. When the order collapses, the preciousness of the human heart can be revealed, but the horror in it is equally shocking. They have seen each other more than once wearing bears for the sake of life and death for a piece of bread. There are even some scumbags, in order not to get hungry, they even do things like eating their own elves. In such a hell on earth. If you can't be vigilant. I am afraid. Rusamine doesn't even know how she died. And what about Baizi? Dressed brightly, with a ruddy complexion, no matter how he looked, he didn't look like a person living in a hell on earth with such a scarcity of materials. Originally, Lushamanai was going to pretend to be a fool to probe Baizi's bottom. But who knows, people have already discovered it. Under the stress reaction, Rusamanai took action almost instantly, preparing to subdue Baizi and the electric cat before questioning. But who knows? The guy in front of him is not only physically strong and looks like a human being, but he is also extremely embarrassed and fainted from hunger in the process of fighting. Thinking of this, Rusamanai almost wanted to die. And this moment. Facing the soup handed over by the young man, although Rusamanai refused, the hunger in her stomach and a little dizziness told her that if she didn't replenish her energy, he might faint again soon. But how come these unscrupulous people don't know how to come over and give themselves a step down? Looking at the elf companions who were working hard, Lusamine felt indignant in her heart, and couldn't help but secretly slandered, "Isn't it just a bowl of soup? Even the owner didn't even care about the food. It's delicious." On the other side of the bonfire, Lusamine devoured her food with a gesture that was no different from her elves, and let out a vague admiration. "Eat slowly, and no one will rob you." Baizi smiled lightly and comforted, his eyes patrolling the body of Rusamanai. Beautiful yet introverted, charming and stubborn. To be frank, the Rusamina in this world is the most unique and complicated woman Baizi has ever seen. In addition, Rusamina is an absolute beauty. With the addition of temperament, it gave Baizi a wonderful feeling of Gone with the Wind. Perhaps this is the unique charm that experience has given to this world, Rusamine. Thinking like this, Baizi also took advantage of the situation to fill himself a bowl of soup, took a sip, and raised his eyebrows. Mellow without any miscellaneous taste, fresh and sweet. Well, my craftsmanship is still as good as ever. After eating. Thank you. Hey Tilda. Woo Tilda. Rusamanai and the other elves immediately thanked Baizi sincerely. On this island that was devoured by the king of evil eaters, and the supplies were extremely scarce, giving food to others was an extraordinary kindness. You're welcome. Baizi waved his hand, but didn't take it too seriously. Although the large space bag was not carried, the supplies in the small space pocket were enough for Baizi and Zeraora to survive for several months. Supplies, for the time being, he is not lacking. However, Baizi's topic changed. Next, should we clear up the past? Huh. Rusamanai was stunned when she heard the words. Huh. Baizi rolled his eyes. Why, it makes sense for you to repay your kindness and revenge, so it makes sense to eat and sleep for nothing. Rusamanai was suddenly speechless. Stingy man. She was sullen in her heart, but in the end, she really did not take care of this matter, and Rusamanai didn't plan to deny the account. Tell me, what do you think? Don't worry, I only have 2 small requests and some simple questions to ask you. Baizi stretched out 2 fingers and chuckled. Tell me about it. Rusamanai responded without letting down her guard. Don't worry, it's not difficult. The voice fell. Baizi disappeared in front of her eyes, but before she could react in the next second, there was a sudden feeling of oppression in her legs. When he lowered his head, he met the eyes of the boy who was lying on his lap. The first request, a lap pillow. Baizi stretched out a finger before Lushamanai could react, After all, I ran all the way yesterday to save someone with no conscience. I was quite tired. My request is more than a life-saving grace, but score. The two looked at each other. Good half sound. Only then did Lusamanai take a deep breath, and said with a sweet chuckle, "It's not too much." Baizi twitched the corner of his mouth and stretched out his second finger. "The second request is even simpler. Before, I was severely restrained by your two long legs, and now I am still a little dizzy and hypoxic. So." Baizi put on a natural look. "I want the initiator to massage the brain to relieve the symptoms, so there should be nothing wrong with it." 433. Of course. Sweetly, she pressed her finger, and with a crisp sound, Lusamine's cold fingertip touched the skin of Baizi's temple. The expected strong force did not come. Although I can feel that the movements are very green, the strength of the force is quite moderate, even gentle. Baizi raised his eyebrows in surprise, and looked up. Under the bonfire, the girl's blue eyes, confusion and weakness, flashed away. Next second, those beautiful Danfeng eyes returned to a cold and incomprehensible look. When he lowered his head, he asked as if everything had been a phantom before, "The request has also been raised. Now, let's talk about your question. But before that, shouldn't you introduce yourself? My name is Lukamina, a native of Ol, and now a member of the Ultimate Ranger on Melamel Island. How about you?" Chapter 307. Rainbow Rockets. Dark Super Dream. For full order. I really didn't miss the chance to inquire about my information. Baizi smiled secretly in his heart, but he had nothing to hide, and said bluntly, "My name is Baizi, I am from Junshin Town in the Kanto region." Of course, it is. It's a real new town in a parallel world, has not been finished yet. Kanto. Rusamanai suddenly interrupted with a look of surprise. "You actually come from the Rocket League?" Kanto. Rocket League. Baizi's expression was indescribably strange. "Yes." Lushamanai frowned slightly, nodded and said, "Except for Alola, which is far away from overseas, not all of the 4 places of Kanto, Chengdu, Fangyuan, and Shanao under the original Elf Alliance were already under the leadership of Team Rocket 4 years ago. Is the Rocket League under the rule of Itaki? Rainbow Rockets." Baizi immediately thought of this organization that is the most powerful organization in the Pokemon worldview. Led by Team Rocket Banmu, Team Lava Team Kai Yansong, Team Ocean Team Shui Wadong, Team Galaxy Kairi, Team Plasma Kuisichi and Team Flare Fratally, the bosses of these successive evil organizations, formed a super evil organization, Team Rainbow Rocket. But soon, he denied this. Because according to the original plot in the game, although this organization is high enough, the members are also unusual. But this so-called Rainbow Rockets. In the final analysis, it is still just a declaration of conquest of the world, and then around the brand new Alola and the brand new mythical beast Necrozma, and then let the brand new protagonists brush a wave of experience one by one. Finally. Still can't escape the inherent routine. The goal is lofty and the ending is bleak. But at this time, the Rocket League mentioned by Lushamanai has already occupied the 4 places of Kanto, Chengdu, Fangyuan, and Shanao, and has been successfully included in it for 4 years. What a. The Rockets and Banmu in this world feel a bit fierce. Sigma, C. Just. With the size of the Elf Alliance, how did the Rockets resist the huge base of civilian trainers and the countless powerhouses born from it, the champions of the 4 heavenly kings? With such doubts, Baizi once again questioned Lusamanai. Lushamanai obviously didn't understand why Baizi, a Kanto, indigenous, would ask such a question that everyone knew. He frowned slightly. But Rusamanai still followed the agreement and told all the information she knew as detailed as possible. Because of the long distance, I only have a rough idea of the specific event process. The cause seems to be the current rocket. The big league's Longplanks have created a pitch-dark elf that resembles a humanoid and feline-like figure. And the Dark Elf army led by this elf, after the Rockets announced the uprising, severely damaged the main force of the alliance composed of champions from various regions. Furthermore, Due to the defections of nearly half of the Alliance leaders and the 4 heavenly kings in Guandu, they directly occupied the Guandu continent, and then pursued the victory, winning Feng Yuan, who had almost lost their high-end combat power because of the previous battle. Shanao and Shanao have successfully formed the Rocket League, and they have formed a confrontation with the remnants of the Elf Alliance who are now retreating to the United States and have continued to this day. Dark elves whose images resemble humanoids and felines. Bai Zi's eyes flashed. Such an image. It is man-made again. As far as he knows, there is only one elf that fits this description. Super Dream. No. The color matching of the orthodox Mewtwo will not be so deep. According to the description of Lusamanai, this elf is very likely to be a strange Mewtwo. Pitch black. Is it a dark Mewtwo? At this time, Bai Zi didn't know how to describe his mood. It's okay to be confused by the time ripples of Shirabi and travel through time and space. Just after arriving at Alola, which is unknown at what time period, he was teleported to a parallel world by Kappa Mingming, one of the local patron saints, using an unknown method. At last. After rescuing the counterpart of another world, Rusamine, she has not had time to think about how to return to the original time. But I was told that the world I came to was a worldview background that was occupied by the Rockets and formed the Rocket League. Moreover, this Rocket team also has a dark super dream that is likely to be a heterogeneous version, as well as a dark army whose intelligence is unknown, but its combat power must be quite terrifying. Wipe. This, good news, is really wave after wave. Now you have to tell me that Arceus, the creator god of this world, is also a blackened version, and I am not surprised at all. This is really... Bai Zi didn't know what to say for a while, and while holding his forehead a little, he also sorted out the information about the dark super dream in his heart. Dark Chaos Dream, this is not a character from the anime, manga or even games of Pokémon True Story. In the arcade game, Pokémon Tekken, published by Nintendo, the strange Mewtwo is a brand new form of Mewtwo evolved from being bent over by the Dark Resonance Stone. Speak up. The original Mewtwo's image was borrowed from Frieza in Dragon Ball. And the image of Dark Mewtwo, especially when it releases the exclusive trick called Dark End Nova, is almost no different from Frieza's release of the Planet Destroyer bomb. And, like the positive version of Mewtwo, Dark Mewtwo also has 2 super evolutionary forms of X and Y. And in the CG animation of Pokémon Iron Fist, the Dark End Nova, in the Dark Super Dream, but it directly blew up the planet. Even if the power of Dark Mewtwo's skills is not so abnormal in reality. But just based on what Rusamine said, even if this Dark Super Dream is not stronger than the peak period of the original Super Dream, I am afraid that it will not be weaker. P.S. In the end, the big boss will appear, and Bai Zi's crossing is also an introduction to the exchange and conflict between the 2 worlds. Chapter 308, Hoping for a Miracle. The 4 gods of Alola, who have entered extinction. For full order. A way back to the overworld must be found ASAP. At this moment, a sense of urgency arose in Bai Zi's heart for no reason. This is not just a fear of the dark super dream. It was a strange premonition that suddenly emerged from the depths of my heart. If he really stays in this world for too long, I am afraid it is very likely that he will face the dark super dream. As for how to say. In fact, Bai Zi is not clueless. According to his own situation, combined with the original plot in the anime TV Sun and Moon chapters, it can be inferred that he was sent to Mellowmile Island in this parallel world by Kappa Mingming. It is very likely that it is similar to Xiaoji's experience, and he wants to let himself help solve the disaster on Mellowmile Island in this parallel world. That is 1, defeat the Evil Eater. This is really... Bai Zi, who came to this conclusion, suddenly pinched his eyebrows with a bit of a headache. A headache. To know. The Evil Eater entrenched in the ruins of Mellowmile Island is not an ordinary character, but an extreme beast that has set foot in the realm of the gods. Even according to the data panel of the probe feedback, this Evil Eater King was not promoted in an orthodox way. There are many defects 433, and even the consciousness cannot be maintained. But no matter what, they are also real three-pole gods. The huge energy level difference alone is enough to crush the vast majority of trainers and elves, of course, including today's Baizi. After all, he didn't have all the hands in his hands. With just a zero aura from the Heavenly King domain, he really didn't have the confidence to face an evil eater from the tripolar god domain. Of course, he wasn't helpless either. The more time-consuming is to use the rapid upgrade of the heavenly reward system to slowly raise the level of Zero Aura to the level of the three gods. In this way, he naturally has the confidence to completely defeat the evil Eater King, expelling or even subduing it. But it can be expected that the world will not be too short. Even if he has the blessing of the heavenly Tao reward system, it will probably not take too long to elevate Zero Aura from the heavenly king to the three-pole god. In normal times, with Baizi's cautious personality, he might have chosen this one. But now, in order to avoid what can happen in the hunch, this one, obviously ACBH, is not suitable. After all, whether or not, without enough power, Baizi doesn't want to fight with the dark super dream at all. This is obviously the idea of the abnormal super dream face with the template of the villain's big boss. And exclude this. The only way to defeat the evil eater in a short period of time is to hope for a miracle. Baizi's eyes were deep. A thought moves. After opening the personal attribute panel, I focused my attention on the secondary page of System Warehouse. There is also a reserved destiny reward that is not used. 1 Forced Luck. It can bring miraculous help when you desperately want to accomplish something. By the way, didn't you say you're from Junshin Town? Why are you still asking me these things? Rusumanai suddenly asked with some doubts, interrupting Baizi's contemplation. Baizi regained his senses and shrugged, without any intention of concealing. Because I am from the parallel world Kanto Junshin Town, naturally I don't know what happened in this world. So that's how it is. Rusumanai nodded casually, then reacted suddenly, confirming with a look of surprise. You are from a parallel world. Not bad. Baizi rubbed the back of his head against Rusumanai's thigh, and gestured with his eyes to stop Rusumin to continue the massage. Then, as concisely as possible, he explained what happened to him and Rusumin. Is that so? Rusuminai blinked, her expression changed, she pressed and rubbed the acupuncture points on Baizi's brain, and asked, then you can't go back. That won't happen. Baizi shook his head. According to the information I know, the Kappa Mingming over there should react with the electrical energy of the Kappa Mingming on your side, and send me to this world. Hearing this, Rusumin's expression suddenly became a little strange. Baizi didn't find out immediately, but continued, and the reason for sending me here should be that I can solve the root cause of this world's disaster, King Evil Eater. After speaking, she felt Rusuminai's fingers didn't move for a long time, and he looked up immediately. Why, don't you believe that I can defeat the King of Evil Eaters? Huh? Rusuminai was stunned for a moment, then returned to her senses, met Baizi's gaze, and said with a hesitant expression, it's not about the King of Evil Eaters, it's just. Just what? Baizi's heart suddenly felt bad. Hunch. Just. Rusumin gritted her teeth and finally said, it's just that Kapu Mingming, the patron saint of Melamel Island, or the 4 patron saints of Alola, all died together 4 years ago. Death. Baizi sat up suddenly. Rusuminai nodded and said with a reminiscence in his eyes, I remember it very clearly, because it happened to be the gala party that ended the celebration of the islands 4 years ago. Suddenly there was a violent explosion in the sky. Afterwards, the sky seems to have raised curtains, and all the trainers who have Z bracelets have found that the Z pure crystals on the bracelets, without exception, have lost their color and cannot activate Z moves. Then, under the leadership of the island kings of each island, everyone was near the altars of the patron saints of the 4 islands and found the shells of the patron saints standing in the center of the altars. Unable to move, but also all signs of life lost. Quote. Hearing this, Baizi's complexion seemed to be condensed. Glancing at his wrist, as expected, the electric Z pure crystal above was dark. He got up quickly, and took advantage of the opportunity to pull up Rusamine, and said solemnly, "Lusamine, I want to go to the altar where Kapu Mingming is located, please." Chapter 309, Remnants of War. Remains, Battle of Alola. For full order. Melon Melody Island. Central. Remnants of War. This is it. In the past, there were special guards stationed at the ruins, but now. Speaking of which, Lusamine pursed her thin lips and sighed. Condolences. With a soft reassurance, Baizi went straight past the somewhat sentimental Rusamine and walked into the cave at the end of the mountain road in front of him. The caves are very simple, and they are basically built by hand with civil and stone blocks. In the front direction, there are wooden inclined ladders on both sides of the boulder altar engraved with diamond patterns. When you go up, you will see a huge coconut leaf ornament like a peacock opening screen. Among the octagonal wooden altars below it, a black wooden shell shaped like a bird's crest and a chicken head with an orange and white pattern stands in the center of the altar. It was covered with dust, and the charm was lost. It seems that, as Lusamine said, Kapu Mingming, one of the guardians of the Alola region in this different world, has already passed away. But, without really using Baizi's power to find out, Baizi would not easily draw conclusions. But when he was about to use the power of Baizi to probe, Stabla 1 suddenly shot out an electric light as thin as spider silk from the top of the cave directly above the altar, hitting the pure electric crystal on the bracelet on Baizi's wrist. Immediately, scenes of images were transmitted into Baizi's mind like a slideshow. An endless army of dark elves. The 3 leading black beasts. Find. Go to intercept. Fight. Confrontation. And finally, that unhesitating decision and sacrifice. Baizi, are you all right? After a long time, Baizi woke up from the shouting of Lusamine. Open your eyes slowly. Chaolu Shamanai chuckled and shook his head, then took 2 steps back slightly, bowed, and gave a deep salute to Kapu Mingming's remains in the altar. In that slide-like memory image, Baizi understood the cause and effect of the incident. Life was lost in the Kapu Mingming area. Including the other 3 patron saints of Alola, on that day 4 years ago, they returned to solitude, entered extinction, and dedicated their last lives to Alola. 4 years ago. In addition to the well-known Battle of the Silver Mountain, where nearly 70% of the high-end combat power of the Elf Alliance was destroyed in the first battle. At that time, the rockets of the Major League Rockets had not yet been officially formed. Actually at the same time, another battle is launched, the Battle of Alola. Led by the 3 holy beasts of the Origin of Darkness, the Black and 3 holy beasts under his command are the backbone, as well as countless water and flying dark elves. Across the sea. A surprise attack on the Alola Islands. But unlike most of the regional beasts, the patron saints in the Alola region are a little weaker in rank, but their connection with the living land is not comparable to other regions at all. Therefore, Team Rocket's partial division had not yet approached the border of the Alola Sea area, and was intercepted outside the sea area by Kapu Mingming and 3 other guardian legends of the Alola area. The war broke out without warning. That's right. It's war. There is no doubt that the 3 sacred beasts of the Origin of Darkness are low-ranking legends who have set foot in the realm of gods. After darkening, they will not be weaker than Kapu Mingming them. Plus the outstanding people in the group and the large number of Dark Elf legions. The battle was not fair from the start. And Kapu Mingming, they are also worthy of the honorary title of the patron gods of the region. The combination of the skills of the 4 occasions can be turned into an almost real attack field. Not to mention, the natural wrath of the 4 attribute energies is like a heavenly punishment. Generally, he even independently inspired his exclusive Z movements and turned into an attribute giant with self-respect to the sky and the earth. But when manpower is scarce, the Dark Elf army is almost endless. Even after death is turned into powder, the remaining dark aura can be absorbed by the Black and 3 holy beasts to heal wounds and replenish energy. Under the dark sky, the unknown war continued for a day and a night. Subsequently, As if receiving some order, the three blackened holy beasts took the lead to leave the battle group, and led the Dark Elf army with most casualties to withdraw from the area of the Alola Sea area, and confronted the four guardian legends of Alola headed by Kapu Mingming. 0. Ask for flowers. But just as Capper hummed, they were about to take a breather for a little grooming. Skyrim. A large number of flight-type Dark Elves rushed to the battlefield under the leadership of the blackened three holy birds. Although the three headed by them are slightly weaker than the blackened three holy beasts, there is no doubt that they are all low-ranking legends who have set foot in the realm of the gods. See this scene. Kapu Mingming, Kapu Dai Dai, Kapu Mu, Kapu Finfin, these four Alola patron saints with different personalities just looked at each other. They turned into streamers and evacuated from the battlefield. This sudden, fleeing, seemed to startle the guy who secretly commanded these Dark Elf legions. Therefore, there was no time to order the block. While leaving the battlefield, the perspective of the picture shifted to the body of an elf named Kapu Mingming. It used the fastest speed to linger in the sky above Meromal Island. After watching the crowd and elves in the celebration, it went to the war ruins without saying a word. Retract the body into the shell. Landed in the very center of the altar of ruins. The body, attribute energy and power of authority in the shell were all sacrificed by it in an unknown way. It turned into a golden beam of light soaring into the sky. It collided and mixed with the other three streams of light pink, blue-green, and blue-violet in the sky above the Alola Islands, turning into an invisible huge curtain, completely encompassing the entire Alola region. P.S. The last few chapters are necessary introductions, and the King of Evil Eaters will be solved soon, abducting the parallel world Lusamanai, and meeting the Dark Super Dream, and then I will go back to Alola in the main world to perform my show operation. Hey hey, a few. Chapter 310, Mysterious Elf Egg, the God of War in the Future. For full order. The four gods of Alola sacrificed their lives and guarded this rare pure land. But unfortunately, although the Sky Curtain temporarily prevented the intrusion of the external Dark Elf army, the unique manifestation of Alola, the ultimate hollow, was not under the defense of this Sky Curtain that isolated foreign enemies. And originally, as the ultimate alien beast in the ultimate space, it will only stay for a few days at most before being automatically sent back to the hometown of the ultimate space. But at the same time, there are also very few individuals who resist the attraction of the ultimate space and are forced to stay in the Alola area of the main space. A calmer temperament, like the Iron Fire Kagaya in the original TV anime. After passing through the ultimate cave, I directly found a place to bury myself. I didn't eat or drink, and I didn't move. Open black lens bracket. Ling. Long. Close black lens bracket. I don't know how many years I have lived. And the 3 who are a little more violent are like this evil eater who was entrenched in the ruins of the city on Melomale Island. The whole island was almost destroyed by it. Perhaps his arrival was the reason why Kapu Mingming's last remaining will was guided. But the same Baizi is also very clear. Although the Kapu chirped, the veil they made by sacrificing their lives resisted the invasion of Alola by the Dark Elf army 4 years ago. Let Aurora obtain a commendable 4-year peace. It can stop the Dark Elves, the blackened 3 holy beasts and the blackened 3 divine birds, but it may not be able to stop the Dark Super Dream. Although it is not clear what the Dark Super Dream is stumbling on. But once it let go of its hands and feet and came to Alola in person, Baizi really didn't like this curtain. How long could it stop it? Not to mention, it doesn't matter if the 3 god bird groups are blackened. After all, their relationship with the Lord God, Lugia clan is not very good. But the 3 holy beasts are subordinate gods made by Ho-Oh himself. The King Feng is the king. Close relationship. Baizi didn't think that Ho-Wang would be indifferent as his subordinates were blackened. But they are still blackened. Thinking about it like this, the meaning contained in it is simply creepy. But in any case, Kapu Mingming and their decision and sacrifice are worthy of Baizi's salute. Although Rusamine, who followed behind, did not know as much about the inside story as the immersive by Z, but in the respect of an Allura person for the local patron saint, she also gave a gentle salute. Li Bai. Rusa Manai looked at Bai Z with a puzzled look on her face. You are. Let's not talk about the King Evil Eater. Why do you think the Alola region has been spared the war? You must know that the Kalol region, which is farthest from Guandu, is inevitably involved. Bai Z shook his head. The eyes are deep. What do you mean? Rusa Manai is not stupid. She was only in the middle before, but now that Bai Z is a little bit, she naturally understands it instantly. He widened his eyes in astonishment. Looks like you guessed it. Bai Zi's eyes had already stopped on Kapu Mingming's remains, and he said softly, Kapu Mingming, they are worthy of the title of the patron saint of Alola. Is that so? There was a flash of confusion in Lusha Manai's eyes, as if recalling something, which finally turned into relief and determination. And Bai Z has withdrawn his gaze. Glancing at his wrist, it seemed that the electric Z on the fully charged Z-band had been reactivated. Then he raised his head and turned his gaze to the direction above his head. Although the incident happened suddenly before, Bai Z still saw clearly that the electric light that lit the Z-pure crystal and let him receive the images of the events before and after the Allura Sea battle, by the late Kapu Mingming came from overhead. As predicted. At the top of the cave directly above the altar, a brown-black sphere emitting a faint golden light hangs in a hanging basket with a diamond-shaped imprint. As soon as Bai Z's thoughts moved, the burning white thought force rose up and took it down from the top of the cave. Holding it in his hand, Bai Z immediately raised his eyebrows. Elf egg. The top is narrow and the bottom is wide in an oval shape. It's not an unknown elf egg. Bai Z's interest suddenly increased. To know. This is the elf egg left in the war relic where Kapu Mingming's remains are located. Moreover, it can also emit lightning that lights up pure crystals. This has nothing to do with Kapu Mingming. Bai Z is unbelievable zero. But just when he was about to use the power of Bai Z to investigate, Kacha, accompanied by a crisp sound, a white light suddenly appeared on the brown-black elf egg, and soon the shadowy golden light on the elf egg was covered. Soon, as the light gradually extinguished, a little guy about the size of a palm, with a long orange crown and lower limbs, and a black body, each arm covered with half a coxcomb wood ornament, appeared in Bai Z's palm. Ka-tilde. The tender voice sounded, and this little guy with a small sleeve saw Bai Z at a glance. Afterwards, with a cheer, as if with an infinite amount of foam, he pounced on Bai Z's neckline, rubbing, and Bai Z's chin tickled as the swaying crown swept away. This is Kapu Mingming. Rusa Manai on the side was inexplicably shocked, her mouth slightly opened, as if she could swallow half of the ham in one bite. Good. This little guy who suddenly hatched from the Pokeball is Kapu Mingming. Or to be more specific, this is a different colored Kapu Mingming cub. Bai Z really did not expect it. Kapu Mingming even left such a big gift for himself. A newborn heterochromatic juvenile. Race, Kapu Mingming, Black Flash. Attribute, Electric Fairy. Characteristic, Electrical Maker, Heart 1.7 Inspiration, Monty. Level, Newborn, Level 5, 0/100. Potential, Level 2 God, Extreme. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Job, War close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Condition, Good close black lens bracket. Introduction. When the previous generation Kapu Mingming had an epiphany at the time of his life and death, and half a foot stepped into a first-level god, the second-generation individuals left behind are one step closer to their qualifications, and have the fighting experience and the legacy of the previous generation Kapu Mingming. A brand new position of duty created by the mutation, the future god of war. Chapter 311. Don't worry about the future. A future god of war. Bai Z, who swiftly took out a pile of elf care products, skillfully carried out the nursing work for the little Kapu Mingming. While scanning the attribute panel in front of him, his eyes were strange. Different from the chief, struggle, of Kapu Mingming in the main world. War is one of the manifestations of struggle though. But the meaning it represents is more cruel and heavy. Since ancient times, it has a very direct and important impact on the safety of human beings, the rise and fall of a nation, the survival of a country, and the progress and regression of society. In the myths and stories of the major races in the previous life, the gods related to war, or all gods among the gods. Therefore, the little card Pu Mingming, who has inherited such a priesthood, is afraid that the future will be limitless. Thinking like this, after finishing the external cleaning, Bai Zi simply crushed the little guy's remaining eggshells into powder, and heated it with high-quality fresh milk in a large milk tank. Looking at the little guy holding a bottle about half the size of his body, the tun cow drank cleanly. Then, oh tu, hiccup tilde. Mengmeng burped, and the little guy immediately lay down on Bai Zi's palm with a troubled expression on his face, rubbed his little head, and fell asleep so quickly. Good night. With a gentle smile, Bai Zi took out a luxurious ball and gently placed it on top of the little guy's head. The stored light flashed and put it into the pokeball. Congratulations. Rusumi Nai stepped forward with a complicated look and said, but it wasn't because of jealousy. It was just a little weird to see the patron saint of her belief since childhood being subdued. Thank you. Bai Zi nodded with a smile. Subsequently, he stared at the pokeball in his hands, which showed no signs of struggle, and put it away. While reading the images left by the previous generation Kapur Mingming, he also learned the reason for his arrival and the method of leaving. Indeed, as he thought at the beginning, it was the remaining will of Kapur Mingming from the previous generation that connected with Kapur Mingming in the main world, and sent him here as a savior to end the disaster. I really look up to me. Bai Zi shook his head in his heart. Sending myself, who only has the power of the heavenly king, to a parallel world to deal with an ultimate alien beast of a three-pole god is more than worth it. It is so worthwhile. However, another piece of information learned from the video gave him a way to get out of this world without defeating the king of evil eaters. You only need to ask Xiao Kapu Mingming to use AZ movement to react with Kapu Mingming in the main world, open the electronic cavity, and return to the main world directly. That is to say, at this moment, Bai Zi has no worries. Although the little Kapur Mingming has just been born, it is a natural electrical user, plus the fighting experience of the previous generation Kapur Mingming. The use of electricity is almost a natural command. At this point, it can be easily seen from the fact that it can use the electricity containing the ultimate aura to light up the electric Z-pure crystal that has been extinguished by Bai Zi according to the residual will of the previous generation Kapur Mingming before it was born. It stands to reason that a gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. But Bai Zi finally decided to be a little headstrong. Just as it is, for the grace and gift of the previous generation Kapu Mingming. I have a decision in my heart. Bai Zi immediately turned to look at Rusumanai. Rusumanai, now I have a brand new Kapu Mingming, I have no worries and can return to my world at any time. But I've decided to try and help you drive the evil eater from Melamel Island. Next, I'm going to try the quality of this evil eater first. Bai Zi changed the concept to helping you, intentionally or not, and then asked, how about you? Of course I am. Rusumanai almost subconsciously prepared to go with her, but she suddenly thought of the companion waiting for her in the base, so she swallowed the words that were almost out of her mouth and sighed. I need to go to our survivor base and report to us. Peace of mind. Before she said that, her eyes suddenly lit up. How about you go to the base with me and get to know the matter? How about I accompany you to the ruins of the city to investigate the details of the King of Evil Eaters? It's not that good, let's split our troops. Bai Zi directly rejected Rusumanai's proposal. Forget about Rusumanai, he himself has bad intentions, some coveted, and some offenses can naturally be ignored. But he doesn't have that much patience with the other guys. It is almost foreseeable that at a time when order is collapsing, a suspicious guy like him will naturally be questioned and doubted. But Bai Zi doesn't want to waste time on unimportant people. After all, his time is very precious now. Well then. Seeing Baizi's resoluteness, Lusamine was not good at forcing it. After the two agreed to meet in the old place, they parted ways directly at the entrance of the 433 War Relics. War Remnants Cave. Looking at the back of Baizi, who was speeding westward all the way, Lusamine's eyes flashed with a strange brilliance. Go for a moment. She withdrew her gaze and released a huge pink-black giant shadow from the Pokeball. Wearing a bear, I'm going to trouble you again, take me back to the base. Hey Tilda. Wearing a bear, he patted his chest, looking like there was no problem. He probed with one hand and hugged Lusamine into his arms. After Lusamine tied her long hair with a rubber band headband. Even if the legs are bent. Next second, the entire bear flew straight into the sky like a rocket, heading towards the southwest coast. Between the ups and downs, it quickly disappeared into the sky. The path in front of the cave of the War Relics fell into silence again. P.S. Single ponytail big wife Tilda. Chapter 312. Base conflict, battle around the city. For full order. What? You want to stay with a guy of unknown origin to fight against the evil eater on Melomel Island? Lusamine, I absolutely won't allow this. In a base on the coast to the southwest of the island, a burly blonde man in a white coat roared loudly. His tone was intense, and his expression was extremely excited. His name is Moen, and he was a famous scholar in the Alola region, especially in the study of the ultimate space and the ultimate alien beast, with a considerable degree of attainments. After the disaster, he was supposed to be the first group of scholars to evacuate, but for some reason he insisted on staying at the base and became the temporary head of the rescue base. In fact, everyone knows this reason well. It's just that King Chong is intentional and the goddess is ruthless. For a long time, Lusamine turned a blind eye to Morn's favor, and put all her focus on rescuing the trapped islanders and elves. Today, Lusamine, who had been missing for nearly half a night, returned safely, plus the news that the ferry would arrive in the early morning. It was originally a double happiness. But why? Why is it that after only getting along for such a short time, the always slow-moving Lusamine is so gullible with a stranger who has known each other for less than a day? And, still a man. Morn couldn't figure it out. Jealousy burned his sanity even more, making him unable to maintain his usual gentleness and elegance, and vetoed Lusamine's decision in an almost commanding tone. Lusamine frowned, and for the sake of her colleagues, she finally explained, Researcher Morn, as I said, this decision is the result of my careful consideration, and I just came to inform everyone. I don't really need you to decide for me. I hope you understand that. Researcher Morn. Moen's face flushed immediately, as if he was stimulated, and he said, Anyway, I will never allow you to find any wild man. See, take down Lusamine for me. Today, I just want to tie her up and take her away from Melomel Island. As soon as the voice fell, there was silence in the field. One by one, the team members either looked up at the sky or lowered their heads to count the ants, but no one responded. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. Can they not know the strength of the captain? Still one. Just relying on the strength of a few of our most talented gymnasiums to win a trainer with almost full hands. Are you crazy or we are crazy? You. Seeing that no one answered, Morn suddenly became anxious. And Lusamine didn't bother to talk to him anymore, she just wiped it on her waist. Dream Demon. Yohu Tilda. The purple elf in the shape of a witch hovered in midair, without needing what Lusamine said, facing Morn, she chanted softly like a magic spell. In an instant, Morn rolled his eyes and fell directly to the ground. Leader Morn. Boss Morn, are you all right? A few people were startled and hurriedly surrounded them. Don't worry, the dream demon just made him fall asleep, let's just leave it alone. After saying that, Lusamine turned around and walked towards the gate of the base. The players behind him hesitated. But haven't spoken yet. Then I saw the dream demon whose eyes were glowing with red light, with her back to Lusamine, making a shush gesture in their direction. Suddenly, a chill suddenly rose. And after seeing a group of the Ultimate Patrol team members who kept silent, the Dream Demon showed a satisfied smile. With a swirl of his body, he slowly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. After leaving the rescuer's base, Lusham and I did not rush back to the old place, agreed with Baizi, but instead went to an abandoned manor on the east coast of Melamail Island. The ruins are broken, but it can be seen from the only remaining ruins that this is supposed to be a luxurious manor with a considerable area. This manor is the former site of the mansion of Rusa Manais. Since the death of her parents in the King Eater incident, in order to avoid the situation, and to find a way to expel or even kill the King Eater wholeheartedly, Lusha Manai has been trying her best to avoid returning here all these years. Originally, she had a little bit of grudge against Kapu Mingming, the patron saint in her heart. It is believed that it has failed to fulfill its duty as the guardian god of the island. The power of King Evil Eater made her feel powerless in the depths of her heart. Just under his nose, she had to do her best to survive, so what about revenge? But now, everything is different. The teenager who claimed to be from a parallel world not only resolved her resentment towards the Patronus, but also brought a glimmer of hope. In the remnants of the war, I will not talk about Yais and the little Kapper Mingming who obtained the previous generation of Kapper Mingming. More importantly, facing the calamity of King Evil Eater, which made her feel hopeless, although Baizi had troubles in her eyes, it was more of a belief in victory that seemed to be integrated into her bones. It's as if, for him, defeating the strong by the weak is completely a basic operation. Maybe. No, he definitely can. Lusamine bit her lower lip, and finally glanced around the abandoned and collapsed manor, turned around suddenly, and strode towards the gate with only 2 square stone pillars of different lengths left. At the same time, in the middle of the ruins of the city of Howell, on the broken wall of a department store ruin, Baizi squatted slightly, and in his blue eyes, a burning white halo of psychic power shone brightly. Taking himself as the center, madly surging in all directions. Actually, before Lusamine arrived at the rescuer's base, Baizi had already come to this ruined city one step before, and quickly found the evil food in the corner of the city, unconsciously eating. King. And when Lusamine was in memory of the ruins of his manor, he was already in the ruins of the city with Zeraora and the Evil Eater. After playing several thrilling battle royale games of, Come After Me, Chase Me, Let You He. At the same time, in this thrilling process, Baizi not only took the opportunity to collect all the specific numerical kills in the destructive power, reaction speed, induction sensitivity and other aspects of the current Evil Eater. In this, Battle Royale, game, I learned a rather interesting discovery. Chapter 313. School Meeting, Plans, 2 Major Problems. This guy ran after us all over the city after eating your 100,000 volts, but it's not close to this place in the center of the city. Zeraora, what do you think? Ow tilde. Zeraola froze when he heard the words. Of course there is something strange, what else can you think of it? Ha ha. Baizi, who was caught by the stock, couldn't help but let out a long laugh, got up straight, and jumped towards the hole under the broken wall. Since there is something strange, let's go to the bottom. Zeraora was a little confused about Baizi's emotional changes for a while. But seeing that Baizi had already jumped down first, he quickly turned into a lightning bolt and flew down. Da! The sound of a light stamping sounded, and Baizi, who fell to the ground, slightly bent his knees, which relieved the impact. Just took 2 steps forward. The thorns, Zeraora followed by a lightning bolt fell on his side. Baizi had no time to pay attention to Zeraora. At this moment, he was completely attracted by the scene not far away. Dark underground, a circle of twisted annular voids are embedded in the void. The periphery is an electron-like vein pattern, and the sunken part of it exudes a dark halo. This thing is a phenomenon unique to the Alola 433 area. The ultimate void. Now Baizi finally knew why the King of Evil Eaters avoided here. It seems that King Evil Eater is instinctively afraid, which can send it back to his hometown. Boom. Before Bai Zi's words were finished, accompanied by a roar, a swaying feeling like the shaking of the earth suddenly came from under his feet. And the broken wall of the remnant house, which was not solid, suddenly collapsed. Countless stones fell one after another from the top of the head, towards the place where Bai Zi and Zeraora stood alone. One by one, scorching white arcs appeared, rendering Zeraora's golden fur into a bluish-white color, and Zeraora, who turned into a thunderbolt, clenched her fist and struck the sky. The majestic electric arc rose and turned into a white beam of light, evaporating the falling rocks within a radius of several meters. Then, Bai Zi only felt a flower in front of his eyes, and he was already in an altitude of dozens of meters, stepping on a piece of electric property, spar, condensed light jade. A loud bang followed. With the hot wind blowing up, Bai Zi lowered his head. Then I saw that the abandoned department store had been blasted into a white field. On the steaming scorched black ground, apart from the evil eater king, who frantically danced his two tongues and gnawed on everything that could be gnawed around him, there was only the stubbornly fit in the void. The ultimate cave. It seems that I guessed wrong. The king of evil eaters is not afraid of the ultimate emptiness, but just resists. However, in this way, it is more beneficial to me. The corner of Bai Zi's mouth raised a smile. Okay, let's go back, Zeraora. Glancing at King Evil Eater one last time, Bai Zi lightly patted Zeraora who was hanging beside him. Next second, the spar under Bai Zi's feet instantly gasified into a on, forming a sphere, wrapping Bai Zi and Zeraora itself, and blasting away toward the south. Speeding all the way. Under the millimeter-accurate electrical property control ability of Zeraora in the thundering form, Bai Zi hardly felt any bumps. Just feel the scenery on both sides fly by. In no time, Bai Zi only felt that the scenery suddenly swayed upwards, and then, like a daze, he had returned to the thatched cottage at the previous Pokemon school ruins. By this time the sky will be bright. In front of a bonfire that is fading out. Rusumi was leaning on the body of the wearing bear sitting cross-legged. Under the light of the fire, her cheeks with a slightly hazy expression seemed to have a layer of blush on her cheeks, and the originally glamorous temperament was suddenly added a bit. ACBH Zhaohan actually looks a little cute. Hey Bai Zi, you're back. Sensing the noise, the clothed bear and Rusumi raised their heads together and forgot to come, and Rusumi's eyes were filled with obvious anticipation and apprehension. Hesitant to speak, Bai Zi chuckled, and naturally knew what Rusumi wanted to ask. Immediately without pretending, he nodded and said bluntly, I have almost figured out the details of King Evil Eater, and I already have a way to send it back to my hometown. Really? Rusum's tone was excited. Although she was only expelling instead of killing, she was already content. After all, even if it was just a chance to expel it, she had waited too long, too long. Of course. Bai Zi gave a positive answer. Afterwards, he revealed his plans and details. In simple terms, it was to use the characteristics of the evil eaters, gluttony, and use attribute energy to guide it to the vicinity of the ultimate void. Then, use the ultimate ball that Bai Zi got from Dr. Ogi to find a chance to put it into the ultimate ball, and take advantage of the gap between the King of Evil Eaters to break free of the ultimate ball, and throw it into the ultimate hole. Middle. However, in this plan, there are two difficulties that need to be solved. Bai Zi stretched out two fingers and stated, the first one is how to successfully incorporate it into the Pokeball. The ultimate ball has a very strong binding force on the ultimate alien beast, but first of all, I only have this in my hand. 1, that is to say, there is only one chance. Secondly, it is not an easy thing to successfully hit the King of Evil Eaters. Although I have enough confidence that as long as I hit it, I can briefly incorporate it into this ultimate ball, but it is still a big difficulty to break through the two tongues of the Evil Eater. This, Rusumi frowned. Undeniable. Bai Zi's plan is quite feasible, but none of the problems he raised can be easily broken through. Moreover, this is only the first difficulty. Bai Zi, what about the second difficulty? After thinking about it for a while, Lusamine frowned and asked Baizi, who had no idea for a while. Since there is no way to solve the first difficulty for the time being, it is better to throw out both problems and think about it together. Maybe it can be negative or positive. Chapter 314. Rusamina is numb, everything is ready for full order. The second one is how to close the ultimate hole after success. Baizi said sternly. This is also the difficulty that really troubles Baizi. Although there is a bottom card, Cheng luck, but relying entirely on luck is not Baizi's behavior. At least, there must also be a general direction to resolve this matter. Relying solely on strong luck is too insecure for a cautious character like Baizi. But unexpectedly, when Rusaminai heard this, her eyes lit up. Close the ultimate cave. As she carefully took out a square device similar to a remote control from her close-fitting waist bag, she said, if it is to close the ultimate hole, I happen to have a device for closing the ultimate hole. This it was left to me by my father, the only thing left. Just. A flash of nostalgia flashed in Rusaminai's eyes, and then she frowned slightly. It's just that this device was damaged in the disaster when I got it. I tried to repair it, but the wiring inside is too complicated. I dare not go too deep, so as not to cause further damage. It has been delayed until now. With that said, Rusamine handed the device in her hand to Baizi. Baizi took it. Ningmei looked at the device in her hands, then raised her head and asked, since you have tried to repair it, that means you still have a certain understanding of it. Well, Lusamine nodded, I still have a little foundation in academic research, if not. Speaking of this, Lusamine's expression became low for a moment, and then shook his head with a wry smile. Maybe I will also embark on the path of an elf researcher. Lusamine's words are actually modest. Xiao also showed her excellent academic talent when she was just an adult. In addition to not having a decisive research result, in terms of knowledge reserve alone, Lusamine is actually not inferior to the general elf doctor. Is that so? Baizi nodded, played with the ultimate hole-closing device in his hand, and suddenly said, Rusaminai, I need to trouble you with one thing. Quote. I need you to tell me everything you know about fixing this device. Having said that, Baizi has dismantled the casing of the device on his own, and began to look carefully at the complicated transistors and circuit boards. And, I took out a small toolbox from my pocket. Open gently. Spread it out in front of you, and tell me, he's quite a master craftsman. Do you still repair technology? Rusaminai also brightened up and said in surprise. 1. Repairing a four-wheel drive vehicle should also count, right? After thinking about it, Baizi nodded and said indifferently, I have a little practical experience. Okay. Lusamina lifted her spirits and clenched her fists. I will tell you everything I know. So, where do we start now? Let's go. Baizi remained indifferent. By the way, is the route a line of fire? Rusamine. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. Rusaminai was indeed speechless by Baizi at first. I even thought that Baizi was joking with her. But soon. She knew that Baizi really knew all the 10 or 9 of mechanical repairs. Basically, he didn't know anything. This made Lusaminai a little crazy. But things had come to this point, and with Baizi's persistent insistence, she had no choice but to try it out, and simply began to explain basic electrical engineering knowledge to Baizi. But what happened next completely left Rusamine stunned. Because she found out. Baizi's learning speed is so fast that it can be seen with the naked eye. This is not an adjective, but you can really clearly see the speed of his knowledge with the naked eye. Even, from time to time, there is a leap-type understanding, like a self-taught without a teacher, and all the knowledge points of a stage are instantly understood. You have listened carefully to the teaching of Rusaminai, and you have a little understanding, triggering the basic discipline, line, proficiency +10. You have carefully listened to the teaching of Lusamine, you have a little understanding, trigger the basic subject, electronics, proficiency +10. Open black lens bracket. You are careful. Close black lens bracket. Ding! You have comprehended comprehensive skills. Mechanical Science, Current Level, Beginner, 0. Ask for flowers. By listening to the explanation, your skill proficiency in Mechanical Science plus 10. Through observation and deduction, your skill proficiency in Mechanical Science plus 20. Pass the proofreading test, your skill proficiency in Mechanical Science plus 30. From the most basic line identification, to the comprehensive skills in Mechanical Science that integrates and comprehends later, relying on concentration and the assistance of God for diligence, Baizi started from the shameless questioning at the beginning, and then left Rusumina with his own practical understanding, a total of took almost 20 hours. It was only then that the skill of Mechanical Science was upgraded to an advanced level. During this period, Rusuminai also went from shock to numbness, helping Baizi who was sleepless and forgetting to eat, and clumsily taking care of Baizi's food and drink, adding firewood for Baizi and putting on a blanket to keep out the cold at night. Until the setting sun rises the next day. Kacha, Baizi just put the last screw on, straightening his waist slightly, making a crisp bone-thumping sound. The ultimate cave closure device has finally been completely repaired. And in front of him, there are mechanical parts all over the place. These are all the wrecks of elf bracelets and notebooks that are used as accessories and dismantled for practice. Finally done. Sighing slightly, he worked with high concentration in one breath for more than 20 hours, but at this moment, he didn't seem to be tired at all. On the contrary, there is a fire burning in the chest, and the spirit is excited as if it has rested for 3 days and 3 nights. Turning his head to the side, looking at the pretty face leaning on his shoulder, so close at hand, Baizi's mouth suddenly raised a smile. Looking towards, gradually climbing up, sweeping the rays of light and expelling the dark sun. In his eyes, a ray of light flashed. I'm really crazy to try to challenge the 3 gods with the power of the King of Heaven. Having said that, but the smile on the corner of his mouth became more and more arbitrary. Chapter 315, Blessed by the Enchantment, Thunder and Lightning, Jinbai Yang Yu. For full order. Afternoon. Baizi personally cooked a sumptuous lunch. After eating and drinking, the two of them took a good afternoon nap. They simply cleaned up and set off together to go to the ruined city, Aula City. Because King Evil Eater followed instinct and left the direction of the city center. So after searching and finding it needs to be lured back to the vicinity of the ultimate cave again. This time, Baizi did not act alone, but negotiated plans and routes with Rusumine in advance, and prepared to take turns to guide the King of Evil Eaters to the vicinity of the ultimate cave in the city center. Although they didn't get along for a long time, he still sensed Rusumine's hatred for the King of Evil Eaters. Therefore, even after adding Rusuminai, it may not be as easy as coming alone, but Baizi still counts Rusuminai. After all, it is necessary to give people a sense of participation. But what he didn't expect was, in the process of feeding the King of Evil Eaters by taking turns using attribute moves, Rusuminai and herself cooperated quite well. With almost no twists and turns, they led the King of Evil Eaters to the city center, which was already a white area. The original site of the department store. The existence of the ultimate emptiness always seems to stimulate the chaotic mind of the Evil Eater, dancing wildly, and roaring violently from the big mouth shining with blue and yellow light inside. Shake the air out of the ripples. Roar loudly. Withdraw. Not daring to pick it up hard, Baizi and Zeraora dodged away immediately, and Rusuminai also ran away under the bear hug. Immediately. Like a substantial ripple, the air was swaying, and it smashed a 100-meter building that was thousands of meters away in front of it. For a while, the sound of collapse and vibration continued. The smoke screen rose, accompanied by the wild wind, a scene of doomsday. Zeraora, feed me, Lucamina, you're ready, almost only once. Just as he stood still, Baizi took off his magic ceiling sunglasses. While reminding loudly, he threw off his 2 long legs. Under the blessing of mind power, he evaded the aftermath of the action of the Evil Eater with difficulty and agility. He couldn't avoid it too far, otherwise, he would not have the success rate that is too high will drop a lot. Out tilde. Zeraola's expression was cold, and with a wave of his arm, he transformed into a white thunderbolt. Leaping into the sky, a giant thunder and lightning battle axe that penetrated the sky and the ground quickly condensed on the claws of the empty grip, and the high concentration of electrical energy factor immediately attracted the attention of the evil eater. I know. Naturally, Lusum and I did not dare to be careless. After retreating to the edge of the battlefield, the dream demon cast a phantom to cover her figure. Then Zhao Ko, who didn't dare to delay for a moment, ordered, "Wear a bear, a sure kill straight punch, get ready." Hey tilde. Wearing a bear, he slumped his waist and immediately closed his fists in his abdomen. Layers of white energy and red-brown fighting attribute energy layered on top of each other continued to emerge, and quickly solidified into a circle of rings, one after another, put on and compressed on the closed right fist in the bear. And at the same time, in Baizi's eyes, a halo like a cloud and mist circulated between the blue pupils. After several months, in different time and space, he finally used the ability that he had not yet fully mastered, weakness insight. The splendid spectacle reappeared in his eyes. All things in the world. Once again, it is covered by countless dotted lines and dots that seem to be unreal. And the center of the small cone-shaped head above the main body of the evil eater, who constantly uttered a drooling roar towards Zeraora above the midair, was a virtual point no more than the size of a pinhead, but it looked like a headless fly. It is constantly swaying, completely unable to form a fixed point. Sure enough, this thing is not so easy to save. He murmured a little helplessly. Baizi is not the temperament of Ink. He can't do anything, and of course he won't hold back his cards. System, use, force luck. In an instant, Baizi felt an inexplicable feeling. Blessing appears on oneself. Seem. The attack that was originally uncertain has become a surefire shot. And the next moment, just when Zeraora suddenly felt a sense of sympathy, he slashed with the axe like a consonant. Kacha, a thunderbolt from the blue sky. A golden light that rose for no reason suddenly fell from the illusory curtain that appeared in the void, and instantly merged into the thunder battle axe in Zeraora's hand. Render it golden and white. Out tilde. Zeraora's blue veins burst out, feeling the battle axe that suddenly became heavy in his hand. He shouted violently, and slammed down the axe that had turned into a scorching sun. Thunder and lightning, platinum Yangyu. Boom. The scorching sun-like axe turned into a beam of light, bombarded straight down, and headed towards the head of the evil eater with a heavy hammer. Roar tilde. The king of evil eaters also seemed to sense a sense of crisis from this blow, but his reason was absent, and his gluttony nature prompted him to choose to devour the mutated blow that was enough to cause him damage. Swallow. In the roar, the king of evil eaters turned his inflexible body upside down, and all those who came would swallow the turbulent blow. Boom tilde. A dull roar came from the confinement mouth of the evil eater king. A few wisps of black smoke rose from the corner of the mouth. The ground was even shaken by a circle of dust and smoke from the aftermath, spreading out in all directions. This blow obviously made the king of evil eaters full, but it also made it unstable. The small sub-brain above its main body happens to fall right below the ultimate void. It's now. Baizi's eyes lit up. Is this the help of miracles? But at this moment, he obviously couldn't allow him to think too much. He hurriedly roared loudly, and at the same time stepped on his feet and disappeared in place. Next second, Baizi appeared in the sky less than a few meters away. Completely ignoring the two left and right tongues that followed closely, he gently discarded the unlocked and enlarged ultimate ball, posing a volley in midair. Whoosh! Boom! In a hurry, Shenruo's 1.7 figures threw out from his side. Out tilde. Wear the bear and fight it off for me. Accompanied by cold chants and urgent calls, the golden cat in its original form and the pink and black giant bear or fist or claws slammed the two gnawing tongues directly to both sides. The evil eater king suddenly opened the door. Go on. And Baizi, who had already been prepared, hit a golden hook upside down in the cry of Lusamine, kicking out his most wonderful volley so far. P.S. Luca Mina and Little Lily Tilda. Chapter 316. The person who captured it, Faramite. For full order. The angle, precision and speed of Baizi's shot can be compared to the Crystal, who has not yet appeared in the special chapter. The king of evil eaters is now slumped to the ground, and the two tongues used as protection have been hit by Zeraora and the wearing bear, respectively. The empty door is wide open, almost inevitable. This blow. It was supposed to be pretty sure. But accidents often happen in an instant. Baizi never thought that under the state of the strong luck buff, this can be said to be a sure hit. It will fail. It wasn't a problem with himself or the evil eater, but when the ball was halfway through, a slender white figure suddenly appeared in the cave of the ultimate that had been calm. Straight into the ultimate ball. And very coincidentally, the energy node was hit by the storage key of the ultimate ball. The so-called energy nodes are the nodes and acupuncture points of the path of the elf's body when the attribute energy flows, and it can also be understood as the points seen under the vision of Baizi's weakness. The energy node is hit. No matter what kind of elf it is, there will be an irresistible moment of stiffness. This is also the secret of the crystal's ability to hit every ball and get it with one ball. It is precisely because of this talent that she is called a captured person by Dr. Ogi. And now, with the agile skills brought by master-level kicking skills, coupled with the ability of weak point insight, Baizi can be said to not damage the crystal known as the captured person in the slightest. That's why the unknown elf, who could only vaguely see the slender figure of clean white, was taken into the ultimate ball without any resistance at the touch of a touch. Baizi, Rusum and I, the two of them were dumbfounded for a moment. After all, this opportunity that was created with great difficulty was ruined by an uninvited guest, and whoever replaced it would be dumbfounded. How is it possible? Rusum and I even had a collapsed expression on her face. You know, when Baizi hit that ball, her joy in her heart didn't have time to rise, and she was ended with such a funny accident. Under the great joy and sorrow, Lusamine only felt a dizziness in the brain, and the whole person collapsed on the ground with some instability. Baizi's expression was even more ugly. What's so special, called strong luck? He cursed inwardly, but Baizi had an amazing mind in the end. Seeing his defeat, he waved his hand to inexplicably quieted the air, and grabbed the ultimate ball without any struggle. Just about to teleport away. However, he found that the evil Eater King, who fell on the ground, was slowing down, and after repelling Zeraora and the wearing bear with his split tongue, he did not attack himself who was close at hand. Instead, a split tongue was raised, aimed in the direction of the collapsed Rusamine, and opened its jaws. Only air vibrates, and an orange light spot is constantly condensing and magnifying. It is the destruction of death light. Not good. Baizi's color suddenly changed, and he disappeared in place with a swoosh. Next second, he appeared beside Lusamine, and with a direct pounce, he pressed her to the ground. Whoosh, Lusamine subconsciously struggled, and just as she was about to say something, she saw an orange beam of light that nearly wiped Baizi's back above her body, and slashed across. Humph tilde. A suppressed muffled sound rang in her ears, and Rusamine quickly recovered, and immediately picked up Baizi, who was pressing down on her body. But at the touch of a warm and sticky touch immediately smeared on the palm of your hand. This is. Lushamine's pupils trembled violently, and she was a little flustered when she realized what she was touching. Hey tilde, don't move. The corner of Baizi's mouth twitched, and he took a deep breath and quickly stopped Lushamine's movements. Afterwards, he used his superpowers to activate his superpowers, and he carried Rusamine again to the top of an abandoned garp several hundred meters away. Next second, Stinger Zeraora arrived in the electric mansions, and fell to the ground like a cannonball wearing a bear. Ow tilde. Baizi, how are you? Looking at the nervous expression of one person and one pet, he turned his gaze to 1,000 meters away, the king of evil eaters who roared wildly and ravaged everywhere because he lost the trace of his prey. He looked at the quiet ultra ball in his hand again. After a while of silence, he said hoarsely, "Leave here first." Race, Pheramite. Attribute, Bug Fighting. Characteristic, Alien Beast Upgrade, Exclusive Beast. Level, Quasi-God Peak, Level 89, 99 100ths. Potential, Tripolar God. HP, 71, Attack, 137, Defense, 37, Special Attack, 137, Special Defense, 37, Speed, 151. Skills, Feint Attack, High-Speed Rotation, Staring, Fast Defense, Kick Down, Double Kick, Triple Spin, Stampede, High-Speed Movement, Bounce, Insect Call, Butterfly Dance, Flying Knee Kick, Hell Thrust. Open Black Lens Bracket Status, Perfect Close Black Lens Bracket. Law Comprehension, Fighting 0.95%. Introduction. Officially embarking on the road of comprehension of the law, the ultimate beast that is marching toward the realm of God, possesses innate agility and speed, and has a strange charm that transcends the boundaries of race and gender. 433 inches in the school building, with her upper body naked, she let Rusamine, who was carefully helping herself with medicine, work behind her, and Baizi, who was sitting on the stone bench like a pine, looked at the ultimate ball in her hand inexplicably. In the eyes, no one can see the ambilight temporarily extinguished. Although it's unclear why the pheromone inside didn't come out, obviously, it couldn't hide the power of Baizeji's detection. As for if it can't come out, Baizi doesn't believe that a mere ultimate ball can trap a player that is close to reaching the limit of the champion's realm, and only a little bit of comprehension of the rules can be advanced to the Philomelody, the god of three extremes. Therefore, Dong Dong I tapped twice on the ultimate ball like a knock on the door, and Jingliang expressed his goodwill in a calm tone. Philomero, although you entered this ultimate ball was just an accident. But since you are willing to stay, you must have no ill will towards me. If that's the case, why not talk frankly and openly? What do you think? Chapter 317. I conquer an extreme beast with my looks. Wu tilde sauce tilde. There was almost no gap. Baizi's words fell, and in front of the two of them, Baizi, a slender figure covered in white, touched the ground as sharply as high-heeled shoes. The humanoid figure is slender and slender like a model, occupying almost 2/3 of the length of the long legs and the joints of both arms, with bright yellow, metal-like knee pads and arm pads attached. The upper body is a 4-layer umbrella-like structure similar to a skirt, and a pair of shorts is linked below the last layer of the skirt. There is also a bright yellow metal crown on the slightly flat head, and 2 long tentacles extend from the 2 raised corners at the top. The gauze-like substance on the back of the head is as thin as silkworm wings, as if a light gauze spreads down to the wrist. Have to admit, although this pheromone has many similarities with insects, it is enough to be called beautiful, and it is no wonder that the code name of the pheromone in the ultimate beast is UB02, beautiful. Baizi was about to open his mouth, but in the next second, he felt a pile of cold sharp claws hold up both sides of his cheeks. And the face of Pheromero, who was still a few meters away, was also close to him. What a great speed! Baizi's pupils shrank slightly, and his dynamic vision was far superior to ordinary people with the support of various forces, and it is no exaggeration to call him eagle eyes. But a round like this, he still didn't even notice the opponent's movement trajectory. Let alone the trajectory, he didn't even see the afterimage. It was almost like teleportation, directly crossing a space of several meters and arriving in front of him. Followed by Rusamine and Zeraora, who reacted a little slower, also suddenly changed their expressions. Small. I'm fine, take it easy. Before Lushamanai was about to blurt out her actions, Baizi held her palm, and at the same time signaled Zeraora not to act rashly. The situation is stronger than that of people. With his current strength, if he is tied with Lushamanai, he is afraid that he will not be able to withstand the 3 punches and 2 kicks of this Philomelody. He is not the kind of stunned young man, and he naturally knows to admit when he should admit. Not to mention, according to the feedback of his ability to distinguish between good and evil with the power of Baizi, the pheromone in front of him is not only without the slightest malice, but full of kindness towards himself. Only, is there something wrong with this goodwill, direction? R. Looking at the small face in front of her, the big eyes of Kazilan that shone with obvious possessiveness, and the corners of Baizi's mouth twitched slightly. Mad, why does she feel chaste and unprotected? But in any case, since there is no malicious intent, it is obviously the object of communication. Think about it. Baizi carefully spread out his mental power, and slowly linked to this slender beast full of strange charm in front of him. Wu-chan tilde. Feromero obviously sensed something and tilted his head, but he didn't resist, letting Baizi establish telepathy with himself. But before Baizi could speak, a clear and clean female voice suddenly sounded, huh. This is the power to link the mind. Not bad. Baizi raised his eyebrows slightly, trying his best to maintain his usual tone. This is for the convenience of communication between us. I use the spiritual link created by spiritual power. Is that so? La 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 la. Hee, it's funny. It's fine if you don't resist. Baizi chuckled lightly and was about to nod his head when he suddenly realized that he was being held in the face by the other party, and quickly said, by the way, Philomero, can you let me go first? Hee, no way, your eyes are so beautiful, I must appreciate them. Philomero shook her head, her voice was clear, like a little girl who met her beloved, and Kazlan's big eyes also flashed with a fascinated look. It's so beautiful, it's even more beautiful than the most crystal clear insect crystal in our place. Miles. Thank you. Baizi was about to thank him, but the murmur-like words of Feromero immediately caused a chill in his heart. I really want to dig them out for collection, but you are also very beautiful, and if you dig them out, shouldn't it be so beautiful? Feeling Baizi's stiff body, the pure white shadow suddenly smiled and said, Hee, you are so funny, I lied to you tilde. Ha, is that so? Baizi laughed dryly. At the same time, he secretly made up his mind that after returning to the main world time and space safely this time, the 2 top legends, he will definitely stay with him for a moment. At the very least, he must always keep one by his side. This feeling of powerlessness, he doesn't want to experience it anymore. You won't. Are you angry? Seemingly aware of Baizi's mood swings, Philomero suddenly withdrew his hands weakly and carefully looked at Baizi's expression. I'm really just joking, you are so pretty, how could I hurt you? Also, I'm willing to enter your capture device without resisting at all. I'm really sincere. You must know that in our world, the ultimate people have to go through a series of domestication before they can make the beasts obediently stay in the capture device and become their pets of war. Although it's quite comfortable to stay in your capture device. But I didn't struggle when I went in. It's really good for you. Good guy. Really, is it good guy? At first, Baizi thought it was a black-bellied and perverse pheromone, but after a long time, it was a handsome dog pheromone. He didn't even hand in a flat A, but his mood fluctuated, and the other party directly handed over to the University Plus flashed. This is obviously the same meaning inside and outside the words. Pretty boy, I voluntarily let you capture it, you must not ignore me. Under the spiritual link, Baizi can naturally sense the other party's true feelings and intentions to kill. What is this? I conquered an extreme beast with my looks. Chapter 318. Completely absorbed, promoted to Philomelody in the realm of gods. Confusedly, he subdued a Yan dog, Philomelody that almost reached the limit of a quasi-god, and Baizi once again recognized the ability of the buff of forced luck. Because compared to wasting an ultimate ball and the fortune buff, only the evil eater will be expelled back to the ultimate space. It is obviously more profitable to get a powerful and extreme beast that is near God. To know What this philomaloid comprehends is the law of the fighting system, and now he happens to have a crystal of the law of the fighting system in his hand. Although this fighting law crystal was only rubbed by the Holy Pillar King with his bare hands, it was incomparable to the evil law crystal that was manifested by the death of Dark Lugia before Zoroark. It was even used by the elves for a round. But no matter what, this is also the top-level law fetish. Not to mention the promotion of Feromero to the top subordinate god, second-level god, level in one breath, but there is no problem in successfully promoting Feromero to the realm of the gods. In this case, you still need to count the farts. As long as Philomelos is promoted to the tripolar god, is he afraid that he will not be able to defeat a pseudo-tripolar god Evil Eater who is incompetent and insane? Thinking of this, Baizi didn't hesitate at the moment. After Lusha Manai bandaged himself, he casually put on a t-shirt and greeted Philomelody, who was dancing and entertaining himself not far away. Waved. Wow sauce 450 tilde. It was still an amazing speed, but in the blink of an eye, before Baizi's hand could be put down, a slender white shadow appeared in front of him. Blinking his big eyes, he looked at Baizi with a beautiful face. To be frank, this guy's personality doesn't look like an extreme beast that is close to the realm of the gods, but rather like a naughty little girl. Well, she's still a little girl with a serious tendency to face dog. Philomelos, you should know how to use this thing. Baizi took out a spar that was slightly lighter in color and in the shape of a brown diamond, and handed it to the Pherombus. Wu-chan tilde. Philomero tilted his head slightly suspiciously, but after sensing it for a while, he nodded his head again and again with bright eyes. Just as he was about to swallow it, he suddenly stopped. What? Baizi blinked and asked suspiciously, is there any problem? Wu tilde tilde tilde. Philomero was hesitant. Seeing Baizi set up telepathic questions again, he said, this is the first gift you gave me, Baizi, it would be a pity to use it like this. ACBH. Quote. Hearing this, Baizi was dumbfounded. Seeing Philomero looking like a little daughter, holding the spar of the fighting system law, he was reluctant to let go, and suddenly aroused his wit and said, if you cherish it, then integrating it into your body is not equivalent to one with my heart. Wu tilde tilde tilde. Philomero was startled, and two suspicious red clouds suddenly appeared under Kazilan's big eyes, and then she gave Baizi a shy look. After moving a few hundred meters away, he raised his head and swallowed the fighting law spar in his hand. In an instant. Wu tilde 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 sauce. Accompanied by a long soft moan, Philomero's body suddenly rose up with invisible energy for no reason. Qijin smashed the nearby air, causing waves of turbulent air ripples to spread out. In the end, it turned into a tornado and completely wrapped the pheromone inside it. This is, what's the matter? Lusha Manai asked with a puzzled expression on her face. Metamorphosis. Baizi's words were concise, and his eyes were fixed on the inside of the tornado where the breath gradually rose. Call out, call out, call out. At this moment, the tornado turned faster and faster, until the figure of Pherometis gradually faded away, leaving only a gray-black silhouette. Gollum, Gollum. A few minutes later, a series of brown flames suddenly appeared on the surface of the tornado that gradually calmed down, annihilated one, and then a new one emerged, faster and faster, and one after another. Before long, these tan flames completely covered the surface of the tornado. When turning it into a brown flame tornado, a pure white slender figure suddenly broke the envelope of the flame curtain and leapt out in the scattered streamer. Clap, light landing, crisp sound. On both sides of the tightly closed eyes, a stream of tan light flashed, and the beard and hair were raised high as if there was no wind. A few seconds later, along with the slender eyelashes of Philomelody, a pair of brilliant purple pupils appeared. In an instant, a fierce and heavy aura suddenly spewed out. Behind Philomelos, there appeared a behemoth sitting on a stone chair, supported by one arm, like a mountain. Pillar King, Regichkas. Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and he whispered out the name of the existence manifested by the phantom. No one can understand the shock in my heart. He has also seen many top legends. Huan Lugia Encanto, Dark Lugia, the Devil of the Sea, the Image of the Future Cheomong, the Black Flash, the Sound of the Sky, the Dream. Without exception, these guys can be said to be the best in the top legends. But the feeling they brought to Baizi actually made him inexplicably have the illusion that he was slightly inferior to the other party when he faced the phantom of the Holy Pillar King Regichkas. This is so special. Even the peak first level gods are slightly inferior, so how strong is the Holy Pillar King Regichkas? Half-step creation field. Even. Creation god. But then. As the phantom gradually dissipated, Baizi quickly restrained his thoughts, looked at the brand new pheromones walking towards him, and after a slight glance, the corner of his mouth twitched. Congratulations, Philomelus tilde. Race, Pheromite. Attribute, bug fighting. Characteristics, enhanced beasts, preemptive, exclusive. The first strike has absolute priority. Level, tripolar god intermediate, level 95, 51/100. Potential, level 2 god. Open black lens bracket race value, slightly. Close black lens bracket. Exclusive skill, extreme speed combo. The power of the next blow will be enhanced for each kick, and there is a certain probability that the opponent will be in a state of stiffness. Open black lens bracket skill, slightly. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Law comprehension, fighting 59%. Introduction, the ultimate beast that completely absorbs the crystallization of fighting laws and sets foot in the realm of the gods. Chapter 319, Dark Super Dream, interesting. Please complete order. On the balcony of a high-rise building not far from the ruins of the city center, Baizi and Lusamine stood side by side. Baizi, is there really no problem with this? Rusamina looked at Philomena, who was leisurely below, walking towards the sleeping king of evil eaters, and asked worriedly. Problems? Baizi, whose expression was almost the same as Philomero, was stunned when he heard the words, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, with Philomero's current power, the king of evil food will not even have a chance to fight back. It's not that he looks down on evil food king. Don't say it's hanging like this now, even if it doesn't lose its consciousness, it will only be passively beaten in the face of the reborn and astonishingly fast Philomelody. After all, not to mention the huge gap between level and law comprehension. With the exclusive characteristics and unique skills possessed by Philomé Roaches alone, once the first mover is lost, any existence of the same level may be directly beaten tilde no temper. Look, this fight will be over soon." Baizi made a shush gesture, smiled mysteriously, and then put it on Lusamine's slender waist and looked at Philomelody below. Lusamine's face turned red, but she didn't struggle. Suddenly, the corner of Baizi's mouth evoked a fleeting smile. Stepping down below, after approaching the king of evil eaters 30 meters away with a model-like pace, Philomero stopped. Although in front of Baizi, he is black-bellied, charming, and has no bottom line, but as an extreme beast that lives in a dangerous place like the ultimate space, and successfully entered the realm of the gods. Philomena is not really just a silly white sweet. As an ultimate alien beast, it is not lacking in vigilance and combat literacy, and it can even be said that it can grow to this point. Its combat literacy is definitely the best among the ultimate alien beasts. This distance. It's the best distance that won't arouse the opponent's vigilance. The lion fights the rabbit with all his strength, especially the ultimate alien beast. For them, the vast majority of battles revolve around just two things. Prey, and being prey. These 2 points, whether active or not, are a battle between life and death. Therefore, the battle between the ultimate beasts has never been the habit of keeping hands. Between the lightning and flint, Baizi only had time to see the pheromone's feet like high-heeled shoes. Next second, that slender figure like green onion and white bamboo appeared above the head of the evil eater. Wow sauce tilde. Accompanied by a silent murmur, the bamboo-jointed long legs, which occupy almost 2/3 of the height, raised the splits high, and then smashed through the air like a sharp blade, and suddenly fell down. Swish! Juyi's terrifying downward slashing speed pulled the atmosphere, with a piercing screeching sound. In the terrified look of King Evil Eater, as if he was suddenly awakened by a nightmare. One kick hit the center of the small head above the main body of the Evil Eater. PFF'd, the flesh and blood were instantly shaved off, and a pothole the size of the mouth of a bowl suddenly appeared on the top door of the deputy head of the Evil Eater King, small. Even the two short sharp corners on the left side of the deputy head were directly cut off by the knife foot that crossed the path. Roar tilde. The King of Evil Eaters let out a terrifying scream, but before it could react, the Philomelody, which had been slashed with one foot, spun in the air, put on his right heel, kicked forward, and stabbed the King of Evil Eaters. Left eye. Extreme combo. Next. Just as Baizi admired it, Philomero began to abuse the King of Evil Eaters under the stunned expression of Lusamine. Good. It's bullying. Philomelody is like a dancing butterfly, constantly circling around the Evil Eater King, with blood and blood flying. However, in just a few dozen breaths, the breath of the bruised and bruised King of Evil Eaters has already begun to fall at a rapid speed, and the complex energy of the attributes in the body seems to have no restraint and swell up. This is. Baizi's complexion changed, and there would be dozens of breaths at most. Relying on the rough-skinned and thick-blooded Evil Eater King, he would definitely die under the extremely fast combo of Philomelody. But before that, maybe the King of Evil Food has exploded because he can no longer restrain the conflict of the chaotic and complex attribute energy in his body. The explosion of the three gods. I am afraid that this Melomale Island will be directly shaken, Lu Chen. Fee. Baizi just wanted to remind. But the Pharamite was one step ahead of it. Sauce. Accompanied by a low voice, the Pharamite suddenly turned and fell like a spinning top, and continued to touch the ground with one foot, twisting and spinning like a compass. With the help of the rotating centrifugal force, he swept his foot heavily on the chin of the Evil Eater. Bang! Like a huge flying football, the swollen Evil Eater rolled across thousands of meters, with an extremely precise angle, straight into the ultimate cave in the center of the ruins, thousands of meters away. 0. Ask for flowers. Baizi also immediately made a decisive decision, took out the repaired ultimate void closure device, and pressed it from a distance. Immediately, the hole of the ultimate shrank quickly visible to the naked eye. But when the ultimate hole was reduced to a hole the size of a thumb. Roar tilde. Accompanied by the tragic wailing sound like before death, the extremely dull roar suddenly resounded, and a laser-like impact suddenly shot out. It went straight through countless buildings and flew into the distance. A long time. There was no rumbling sound. Baizi and Lusamine looked at each other, looking at the turbulent space in the void that was twisted into a ball, but gradually calmed down, unable to speak for a while. This blow, I am afraid that it has already flown out of the island. 0. Your Pharombus killed the Evil Eater King, gained a little, experience value +5, high-speed movement proficiency +1, extreme speed combo proficiency +3 just now. Accompanied by the system, Rusamine's slightly hoarse voice sounded. It should be the self-destruction of the Evil Eater that caused the short-term space turbulence. Under the squeeze of the space, it caused the amazing laser just now, right? Baizi guessed. That is to say, the King of Evil Eaters is dead. Yes, there is no dead body. Lusha Manai didn't reply. She clenched her teeth tightly, and 2 lines of clear tears rolled down from the corners of her eyes. You. Baizi was stunned, and was about to comfort him. Thank you. Lusha Manai, who was half reliant in her arms, suddenly raised her head, closed her eyes slightly, and took the initiative to bring the delicate face of Pear Blossoms and Rain closer to her. Fragrant, slightly astringent, and a place on the sea surface that was separated by an unknown number of seas. Superior. Huh. The dark super dream that was chasing the 2 slender phantoms suddenly raised his head slightly as he was controlling several purple-black energy spheres with one hand. His eyes flashed purple. The orange-red laser that broke through the waves and divided the sea suddenly stopped in front of the void that was just a short distance away, as if it had been stopped by time. Interesting. Several. Chapter 320, Strong. Facing the Dark Dream. After the words fell, the laser in front of him was suddenly silently annihilated. And it was this slight distraction. Those two slender figures who seemed to be chasing after the purple-black energy balls suddenly burst out. Buzz. The blue spiritual energy surged out like a tsunami, turning into two huge energy spheres, colliding and blending, and bursting in the next instant, drowning everything around them in this rolling energy turbulence. As if the sea is facing overturning, everything in Haitian is crumbling as far as the eyes can see. And this blow is obviously not only a vast scene, but also quite powerful. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. The aftermath of the energy grinding disk covering thousands of meters pushed the sea horizontally hundreds of feet away. Directly prevent the backflow of the ocean. The generated sparse energy flow even knocked the nearby air out of black lightning cracks. 450. This is the manifestation of space, propped up by high-density energy. The outside is still the same. The fierce conflict generated inside the energy grinding disk is even more conceivable. But this energy grinding disk has just turned, attracting the super energy factor in the surrounding air, even before the peak of energy has been reached. The mental power that seemed to make the air fall into still time again rose again. Everything around. It's like being printed into a black and white photo, and it freezes in an instant. A few moments later, the thick purple-black energy of hum suddenly expanded from the frozen energy mill, turning into a huge energy ball to completely encompass it. The next moment, this ball of energy with a diameter of more than 1 kilometer shrank again. It directly squeezed the energy grinding disk inside, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a fist-sized purple-black glazed bead. Inside, the vortex-like blue nebula was spinning like a disc. It was held in the palm of a dark palm composed of 3 spherical bodies. It is the unscathed dark super dream. Under its feet, the turbulent sea water suddenly filled the backflow with overwhelming force. But at this moment, the 2 unknown elves whose destructive power was in no way inferior to the first-level divine superpower tricks, seemed to have disappeared here by taking advantage of the gap created by this blow. Humph. Dark Cheomung's eyes flashed a gloomy color, and the right palm that held the energy sphere slowly clenched. And with the constant virtual grip, Kacha, the vain energy sphere above the palm was compressed by an invisible force, and quickly condensed into a spar-like shape. Then, when Mewtwo suddenly clenched, it turned into pieces of droplets and scattered in the air. Drop by drop. At this moment, a series of electronic prompts suddenly sounded on the body of the Dark Super Dream. Dark Super Dream frowned slightly. Although he was a little dissatisfied with the noise of disturbing his hunting interest, he thought that there was only one man who could use this to contact him, so he finally raised his left arm. Dab lightly on a circular chip the size of a coin that fits snugly on your wrist. Immediately, a 10-inch sized virtual screen appeared directly above the circular chip, in front of the Dark Super Dream. On the screen, a shrewd man in a black suit was holding his chin with his hands, sitting behind a mahogany, and said slowly in a low tone, "Darkness Super Dream, next week I will officially confront Hajong. Soldiers, you should be back." "Oh." Dark Cheomung's expression suddenly became excited. "Is there any interesting opponent for me this time?" "Absolutely, it will make your appetite." "That's good." The corner of Dark Cheomung's mouth cracked a brutal arc, and then, as if something sounded, "By the way, I have one more thing to do before returning. Just be happy." Sakagi has always given the greatest degree of freedom and trust to this supreme masterpiece, which possesses absolute power and is in perfect harmony with his own beliefs. In the same way, Dark Mewtwo has never let him down, that's all. Hang up the communication. Dark Cheomung slowly tilted his head to the left. Click, twist to the right again, click. Then, look for the location. Chirp, A violent air whistling sound suddenly sounded. Dark Chow Meng's figure shattered like a flower, and changed into a slightly bent, starting, posture. Soon, this figure gradually faded until it dissipated, and the waves on the sea seemed to have been delayed and exploded. Mellow Melody Island, South Shore. Manor Ruins. Lusamanai, who was taking the knot off her heart with a brighter expression, walked hand in hand with Baizi, who was in memory. Suddenly her expression tightened, and she stopped in place. What's wrong, Baizi? Rusamin looked up with a puzzled expression. I have a premonition that disaster is imminent. Baizi tried his best to calm down his suffocating heart palpitations, and his expression was condensed. Rusamanai, I'm sorry, I'm afraid we can't stay here for a long time. You really want to? I'll go with you. Rusaminai interrupted Baizi's inquiry and said seriously, I don't have any lingering in this world anymore, I'll go wherever you go. Okay. Baizi Zanyan smiled and kissed Lusamin's forehead lightly. Hold me tight. Saying that, Baizi held Lusamanai tightly in his arms, and simply released little Kapu Mingming from the Pokeball. Kapu Mingming, let's get started. Kao tilde. The little guy also seemed to feel Baizi's solemnity, and instead of acting coquettishly, he and Baizi folded his arms and stretched forward. In an instant, a quaint mark of thunder and lightning condensed from the void in front of Xiao Kapu Mingming. Then, the electric lights of each other gathered together with the dancing of one person and one pet, turning into a surging electric light, rising into the sky. Kacha, the electric light connected the sky and the earth one after another, as if reaching a certain frequency, and soon, a light circle of light slowly emerged from the center of the thunder. Go away. Recalling the little guy who was unwilling to return to the Pokeball and stuffing it into the collar, without the slightest hesitation, Baizi stepped straight into the 1.7 aperture. The front foot just stepped in. Immediately, a splendid wonder came into Baizi's eyes. There was a gloomy and dark sandy field in the back, but the sun was shining brightly in front, and the clouds were rolling. And right now, it was like an icy lightning bolt suddenly shot up from his back, causing Baizi's scalp to go numb. The body could not help but froze. Suddenly turned back. Then he met a pair of icy purple pupils. P.S. Can you guess what the two elves who were crushed by the dark super dream or not? W tilde.